Chapter 121. Liu said anxiously. He hadn't expected that the condensation of his aunt's nether divinity after Yu Yuan's departure would attract the attention of so many deviant souls and evil beings. At first, both he and his aunt had been pleasantly surprised. That was because the evil beings that had appeared out of nowhere were all very weak. It just so happened that her aunt could use the hero soul incantation to refine that type of evil spirit to condense a Yin soul and help it to take form. At the same time, he could also use the soul sphere to devour evil beings and provide it with copious amounts of soul power as it continued to upgrade. At first, the two of them had been very happy and satisfied, and had been plundering those evil beings to nourish themselves. It wasn't until more and more evil beings had appeared and become stronger and stronger that the two of them finally panicked. When the purple dragon-like spirit appeared, all of the evil beings suddenly seemed to have a leader, and the situation changed again. The moment the dragon-like spirit appeared, thunder and lightning intersected, and the earth rumbled. Even the misty shield of light from the soul orb he held was almost shattered by the thunder and lightning that struck the dragon-like spirit. The purple spirit in the shape of a flood dragon was hovering around Nie Tian and his aunt, waiting for an opportunity to strike while dodging the lightning strike. Liu had a feeling that the thunder and lightning were one of the restrictive spells of this heaven and earth. The appearance of the dragon-like spirit had caused the mysterious restrictive spells to be activated and come to search for its aura. If it weren't for the restrictive spells that allowed the purple dragon-like spirit to go all out, he and his aunt wouldn't have been able to hold on for long. At this critical moment, Yu Yuan's appearance was like a lamp that suddenly lit up in the dark night. How could Liu not be excited? Even Liu-chan, who had condensed his Yin soul and was sitting in the spiderweb with his soul, felt relieved the moment he smelled Yu Yuan's aura. It was as if the moment Yu Yuan appeared, their current difficult situation would be resolved. It turned out that unknowingly, the young master who walked out of the Yu clan in Dark Moon City had already become their pillar of support and support. Roar. The moment Yu Yuan appeared, the flood dragon-shaped spirit soul let out a frenzied roar. The roar was an angry roar that shook the soul. It was not something that could be heard by the ears. Yu Yuan landed and his mind shook. Relying on the refined intelligence of his heavenly soul, he miraculously analyzed the many meanings behind the dragon's roar. The flood dragon used its dragon roar and soul thought to threaten the countless colorful spirits around it to attack Yu Yuan. At this moment, Yu Yuan hadn't used the power of the sword soul imprinted in his arm, nor had he raised his arm to release the ancient sword intent. With an intrigued expression, he looked at the spirit that was in the shape of a dragon, which had shiny scales and curved horns on its head. With a smile, he said, "Dragons are also one of the demon races. Although you're only a flood dragon and not a pure-blooded dragon, you're still a flood dragon. According to the Yao clan's ranking, before you were killed, you should have had the strength of a 7th rank, comparable to a soul-traversing realm human. After a 7th rank flood dragon was killed, its corpse was ground to pieces, and its soul was imprisoned somewhere in the Forbidden Land. As the world changed, the Forbidden Land's array relaxed, and you were able to escape. But do you really think that you can break free of this world and soar into the sky again?" As it spoke, dozens of ferocious spirits charged towards Yu Yuan. Some of the spirits had 3 heads and 6 arms, like unknown monsters. Some of the spirits had green faces and sharp fangs, like evil spirits that were born in evil places. Some of the spirits were clearly demon beasts. Although they were illusory, they gave people the impression that their skin and flesh were tough. Because the Forbidden Land's array relaxed, these weak spirits that were originally sealed outside took the opportunity to escape. Under the control of the 7th rank flood dragon spirit, they, who lacked intelligence, were willing to be enslaved and ordered by the 7th rank flood dragon spirit. However, when Yu Yuan smiled brightly and communicated with the sword light on his arm with his heavenly soul, and the sword intent of his heavenly soul filled his body like a raging river, all of the evil spirits that wanted to tear Yu Yuan to pieces instantly collapsed. At this moment, the aura that Yu Yuan released was the same aura that had killed and suppressed them for thousands of years. The fear and despair he felt before his death surged up in an instant. All of the evil spirits that were controlled by the 7th rank flood dragon spirit were so scared that their souls almost flew out of their bodies. Like a swarm of bees, they fled in the opposite direction, away from Yu Yuan. They weren't the only ones. The spirits that were besieging Li Yu and trying to break through the misty light shield all fled in fear when they saw the aura of Yu Yuan's heavenly soul. A bunch of clowns. Yu Yuan muttered, his eyes narrowed as he looked at the flood dragon spirit with a smile. You've got guts. How dare you provoke me here? With a thought, the sword light on his arm suddenly interwove into a strange formation. Thunderous rumbles echoed throughout heaven and earth. Rumble! The numerous lightning bolts that had been chasing after the purple flood dragon seemed to have been infused with intelligence. Accompanied by thunderous rumbles, the interweaving lightning bolts suddenly split apart. They split into dozens of twisting snakes of light that shot towards the purple flood dragon from different directions and angles. The 7th grade flood dragon suddenly found that the sky and the earth were filled with snakes of lightning. There was no place for it to hide. When the first snake of light came into contact with it, purple smoke rose from its seemingly solid scales. Immediately afterwards, more snakes of light seized the opportunity and shot towards it. In the blink of an eye, the previously awe-inspiring and all-powerful flood dragon was entangled and bitten by the snakes of light and turned into purple smoke. Li Yu and Li Yuchan's eyes suddenly lit up as they each cast incantations and operated their spiritual tools. The fragmented souls and light of the 7th grade flood dragon that had been torn apart by the snakes of lightning were sucked into the soul sphere and the spiritual awareness spiderweb, and the two of them took the opportunity to gather them. Big Brother Yu! At this moment, an extremely excited shout suddenly rang out. Zhao Yafu suddenly arrived. Wreathed in flowing dragon aura, an illusory dragon-shaped soul shadow flew out of the top of her head. Li Yu and Li Yuchan saw that a portion of the flood dragon's fragmented souls and thoughts that had been eaten by them split off and flew towards Zhao Yafu. Those fragmented souls and thoughts didn't contain much of the flood dragon's soul power, but they were branded with the 7th grade flood dragon's lifetime memories, as well as the use of its dragon inheritance, dragon blood and dragon aura. In fact, these were even more hidden inheritances. Before the 7th grade flood dragon's soul perished, it had smelled the unique dragon aura on Zhao Yafu, and naturally entrusted the purest part of its dragon soul inheritance to Zhao Yafu. Zhao Yafu! Within the spiritual awareness spiderweb, the eyes of the female general of the empire, famous for her bloodthirstiness, turned cold as killing intent shot out of her newly formed Yin spirit. Don't, Li Yu said softly. If you dare to do anything, your newly formed Yin spirit will be destroyed in the next second. Do you believe me? Yu Yuan took several steps forward and stood between Zhao Yafu and Li Yuchan. The 5 fingers of his left hand curled into a hook as he lightly grabbed. Li Yuchan's Yin spirit suddenly felt fear as her main body shouted. That little girl from the Zhao family saw something she shouldn't have. The heroic soul art was a forbidden and evil art that was forbidden by the Tianyuan continent. The fact that Li Yuchan cultivated this art could not be exposed. Otherwise, not only her but even her elder sister, the Empress of the Empire, would be targeted by the Tianyuan continent. Zhao Yafu had suddenly barged in and seen her cultivating the heroic soul art. Given her usual personality, she would naturally kill her first. What's wrong? Zhao Yafu's face was blank. She was still using the illusory dragon figure to receive the dragon soul inheritance of the 7th grade flood dragon. She noticed the dispute between Li Yuchan and Yu Yuan and was momentarily confused. Close your eyes and sit down. Don't open them, Yu Yuan shouted. Oh. Zhao Yafu nodded and obediently sat down. She closed her eyes and focused on receiving the message that slipped into her soul. The inheritance of the 7th grade flood dragon was all-encompassing. Many of them were useless to her cultivation, but there were still some that gave her inspiration and would allow her future cultivation to be much smoother and avoid many detours. This was especially true now that the Zhao family and the Hidden Dragon Lake had fallen out and were destined to never walk together. Chapter 122. No, don't. Liu shook his head at Liu Chan as he manipulated the soul-sacrificing orb to refine the 7th grade flood dragon's discarnate soul with his mind. Liu Chan had been leading an army to fight against the Scarlet Sun Empire for many years. She had been extremely stubborn to begin with, and after practicing the heroic soul incantation, she had become even more cruel and ruthless. Because of the heroic soul incantation, she had become accustomed to killing enemies in battle. Later on, she had become numb to the deaths of her own generals. Aside from a few of her closest relatives, she was equally ruthless to the cultivators of the empire. The Zhao clan, where Zhao Yafu was from, was only a small clan in Dark Moon City. She wouldn't feel the slightest psychological burden if she continued to hide the fact that she practiced the heroic soul incantation after killing Zhao Yafu. Besides, as long as Yu Yuan didn't tell her, who would know? It was because he understood his aunt's temperament that Li Yu was so anxious. He knew that Yu Yuan seemed indifferent to many things, but when it came to major issues, he always had his own bottom line. As long as someone dared to cross Yu Yuan's bottom line, Yu Yuan wouldn't ignore it. Yu Yuan wasn't a threat in the outside world, but this was the forbidden land of the fallen moons. Yu Yuan had proven more than once that, regardless of his cultivation base, he could intimidate any living being here through the restrictive spells left in this heaven and earth. Li Yu-chan. Yu Yuan called her by her name instead of calling her Sister Li. I'll repeat myself. Do what you're supposed to do. Don't act rashly. The 5 fingers of his bent left hand clenched slightly again. In an instant, his chi was mixed with the sword intent of the sword soul, forming a mysterious connection with the lightning snakes that were still roaming around. The lightning snakes that had just bitten the 7th grade flood dragon quietly approached Li Yu-chan with sizzling sound. The misty light shield Li Yu had released from the soul-sacrificing orb didn't stop the lightning snakes at all. This was the forbidden land of the fallen moons. The lightning snakes were triggered by the restrictive spells in the clouds. How could a small soul-sacrificing orb stop them? Sitting on the ground, Li Yu-chan's eyes were cold as she asked, "Is she very important to you?" Above his head, the interweaving spider web of spiritual sense was incomparably clear and bright. A ghostly shadow appeared in the heart of the spider. It was another Li Yu-chan, her Een spirit. The Een spirit was illusory and ethereal. When it was exposed to the outside of the body, it looked extremely fragile, as though it would dissipate with a single gust of wind. If her Een spirit was torn apart by the lightning snakes, Li Yu-chan would die even faster than the level 7 flood dragon. In any case, to me, she's more important than you, Yu Yuan said coldly. Li Yu-chan suddenly said, "If, there are no ifs." Yu Yuan rudely interrupted her. "I'm warning you one last time, you only need to take care of yourself. Also, the so-called strongest moon devil who chased you to this forbidden land has had its host body destroyed by me. Only its soul escaped. The souls of the 2 subordinates who followed her were destroyed on the spot, and there was no trace of them left. You, Li Yu-chan, are not stronger than that supreme lunar fiend." These words were a complete threat. "You're very bold." Li Yu-chan took a deep breath. "I don't know what kind of dog's hit luck you have to obtain the recognition of this world and obtain some special privileges. But one day, you will step out of the forbidden land and return to the Empire. Aren't you afraid that you've provoked me?" The moment she said that, Li Yu thought to himself, "Oh no! Ah!" Yu Yuan suddenly looked up and laughed. His 5 fingers clenched slightly, and the lightning snakes that resonated with his aura suddenly pounced on Li Yuchan. "Don't do this!" Li Yu exclaimed. Crackle! The lightning serpents did not bite Li Yuchan's Yin spirit. Instead, they coiled around her upright figure. Wherever the lightning snakes passed, Li Yuchan's neck and fair arms would instantly be scorched black. Li Yuchan gritted her teeth and did not make a sound, but her shoulders trembled. Li Yu reached out and the soul sphere fell into his hand. With a bitter smile, he said to Yu Yuan, "Why?" Yu Yuan was expressionless. He turned his head and looked at his aunt, who was enduring the pain but was silent. He said, "Wasn't everything fine in the beginning? She saw your cultivation. As long as you keep it a secret, it will pass." "I don't trust anyone," Li Yuchan said harshly. "Then, why me? Why Yu Yuan?" Li Yu asked again. "Sister knows about me. You are a member of the Li family and can be trusted." Li Yuchan's face was cold as she glared at Yu Yuan. "As for him, I can't do anything because I have to rely on him, and because he saw through it himself. I can't be bothered to waste time with you." Yu Yuan was somewhat impatient. "If you dare threaten me with the Empire and I hear another word, I will kill you, Li Yuchan. And you, Li Yu." Li Yu was stunned. Li Yuchan was also somewhat puzzled. "What does it have to do with him? You will silence him, so will I." When Yu Yuan said this, he suddenly became unusually calm. "If you, Li Yuchan, die, Li Yu, who witnessed it, will also die here. Other than that, none of the Li family members in this trial will leave the forbidden grounds alive." Li Yuchan and Li Yu's hearts turned cold as they stared at Yu Yuan. What they could see from the depths of Yu Yuan's eyes was an endless, frigid abyss. "If she dares to speak nonsense, I will personally slaughter the Zhao family of Dark Moon City." After a long while, Li Yuchan glared coldly at Zhao Yafu. Zhao Yafu, who was absorbing the Flood Dragon's inheritance, had her eyes closed. At this moment, her petite body trembled slightly. Yu Yuan knew then that this girl was not stupid at all. Not long after she came, she should have seen that Li Yuchan's cultivation method was strange. She might have guessed wrongly that it was the legendary heroic soul method, and pretended not to know because she was afraid of trouble. Later on, after hearing their conversation, the girl seemed to be refining but actually understood everything. All right, don't scare her." Yu Yuan sighed in relief. "Isn't it just the heroic soul method? After so long, the Tianyuan continent might not really care. You should be careful. If you cultivate in an inhumane way like Emperor Han Tian, you won't be able to escape death." "Auntie, you really should restrain your violent aura," Li Yu said. When Li Yuchan threatened to slaughter Zhao Yafa's entire family if she dared to speak nonsense, Yu Yuan and Li Yu knew that the conflict that was about to erupt had calmed down. "Hurry up and get rid of these damn things." Li Yuchan glared at Yu Yuan. The lightning snakes were still happily swimming on the surface of her skin. They were like sharp blades plowing through the fields, leaving streaks of blood. Her injuries were not serious. With her body's strength, she would quickly recover, but it was still disgusting to look at. As Yu Yuan loosened her fingers, all of the lightning bolts disappeared. "You and you." He pointed at Li Yuchan and Li Yu. Yu Yuan said, "This world contains many wonders and mysteries. As long as the two of you are willing to stand by my side, I guarantee it. I guarantee that this trip to the Forbidden Land will benefit you for life. After you leave the Forbidden Land, your combat strength and cultivation will rise to another level. I am the one holding the sword. Since you are in my territory, I naturally won't mistreat you." After a series of threats, Yu Yuan promised great benefit. "What shameless boasting! When did this place become your territory?" Li Yuchan's tone was cold, but the cold and sharp look in her eyes had already disappeared. "Your Yin soul has formed, Li Yu's artifact is about to evolve, and Zhao Yafu is about to break through." Yu Yuan smiled faintly. As for me, I just stepped into the middle stage of the spirit-nurturing realm. Follow me, we will continue to walk forward and temper ourselves. When we step into the Scarlet Sun Empire, all of us will be reborn. Of course, if we survive. Chapter 123. The Silver Moon Empire was in turmoil. Deviant souls and evil beings that had been sealed for thousands of years had broken free from their confinement in the 7 great cities of the empire. Many of them were so evil that even the old cultivators of the empire hadn't heard of them before. It was as if they had been in the realm before the Silver Moon Empire. At first, the entire empire had been sent to hunt down those deviant souls and evil beings. However, the number of deviant souls and evil beings had gradually increased, and they had also become stronger. Many of them had come from faraway realms and swarmed directly into the Silver Moon Empire. Then, everyone discovered that the deviant souls were quietly gathering in the area where the entrance to the Forbidden Land of the Falling Moons was located. The Empress immediately learned that all of the deviant souls were trying to break through the enormous arched door and enter the Forbidden Land. Only a few deviant souls and evil beings had appeared in some of the cities in the Empire, but they hadn't caused any major disasters. However, the turmoil had already caused great damage to the Silver Moon Empire. Many of the clans had been wiped out. Even the 5 major clans had suffered varying degrees of damage. Many of the generals and leaders of the army had been killed or injured. To everyone's surprise, the Flaming Sun Empire hadn't taken advantage of the situation to invade the Silver Moon Empire. Furthermore, the Flaming Sun Emperor had made it clear that he wouldn't send any troops into the Silver Moon Empire during this period. At this moment, at the enormous arched door that led to the Forbidden Land, numerous lightning bolts that were as thick as waterfalls fell from the depths of the clouds. They were sparkling and translucent, and contained countless thunder transmission talismans. Each and every one of them seemed to have been born from a pool of lightning, and each and every one of them was capable of inflicting devastating damage to souls and spirits. Even young spirits would shed a layer of skin if they were struck by those lightning talismans, let alone spirits. Thousands of sword intents swam happily like shoals of fish in the depths of the earth. Each and every wisp of sword intent emanated an ancient, boundless aura, as if they had existed in heaven and earth since ancient times, and possessed their own intelligence and thoughts. The only way to enter the Forbidden Land was through the arched door that stood in the middle of a wide stone bridge. Under the moonlight, the arched door, which had been built with piles of huge rocks, glowed with sparkling light. If one looked closely, they would find that there seemed to be numerous flowing silver chains flying within the huge rocks. Zlotsla, a 30-meter-tall deviant soul that was completely crimson like blood, was being commanded by a powerful demon to fly to the other side of the river. The Shade Soul was like a bloody light. A beam of silver light suddenly shot out from the ravine. In the depths of the rolling clouds, there was a thunderous response. Peepa! One of the lightning bolts that fell from the sky like a waterfall split off, and together with the streak of silver light, killed the outsider's soul on the spot. There were many shadows in the wilderness around the Forbidden Land. Some of them were hundreds of meters tall, and their true appearance couldn't be seen. Some were as small as a grain of rice, but they emitted extremely terrifying soul remembrance wave. A greater demon let out an earth-shattering roar. A strange soul that had been imprisoned for tens of thousands of years was entrenched on the bronze monument. It floated around the arched door, as if it was waiting for something. It was as if as long as there was a crack in the arched door, he would pass through. Many of the deviant souls and evil beings that had existed in the Silver Moon Empire before the Silver Moon Empire had been founded were gathered here, waiting for Nietion's arrival. They were waiting for a flaw to appear in the huge formation that had existed since ancient times. Most of their souls were sealed inside, and some of their corpses were left behind. This was because they had been brought out by the cultivators who had explored the Forbidden Land in the past. The ones that had been brought out were only incomplete parts, not all of them. Outside the Forbidden Land, after tens of thousands of years of accumulation, they had recovered part of their bodies and strength. Once they entered the Forbidden Land and reunited with the other parts of themselves, their battle prowess would definitely increase by several times. At that time, the tiny Silver Moon Empire, and even the Qianxian continent would become their paradise. It would be a hunting ground where they could freely reap the fruits of their labor. By the time the experts of the Tianyuan continent and Tranquil continent arrived, they had already scattered. They either fled into ancient secret lands or flew into outer space, unrestrained. Liu Chan was refining his Yin soul, Liu was communicating with the soul orb, and Zhao Yafu was merging with the serpent dragon's inheritance. Yu Yuan took out the white paper fan and used the consciousness of his Selim soul to continue comprehending the extreme wisdom soul tempering art and slowly improve his Selim soul. The medicinal power of the origin spirit pill spread from his abdomen, helping him cleanse his flesh and blood. As he cultivated, he faintly developed a mysterious feeling. When he cultivated the extreme wisdom soul forging art, this time, the sword beams that were imprinted on the bones of his arm seemed to have turned into bright eyes that observed him in the dark. To be more precise, he was observing his three souls, heaven, earth, and man. It was a very strange and wonderful feeling. As his heavenly soul was condensed and his spiritual intelligence was activated, he had a strange illusion in his mind. He seemed to be naturally close to the sword lights and the remnant sword souls within them. The sword lights seemed to have chosen him for another reason other than his Selim soul being more refined than the other trial takers. Every time he communicated with the sword souls and transmitted his thoughts, the sword souls would docilely listen to him. It didn't seem to be because he was strong. Instead, it was because the sword souls were naturally close to him and willing to listen to him. Amen. Yu Yuan abruptly rose to her feet and walked towards another direction alone. Liu opened his eyes and looked around, but didn't say anything. After a while, Yu Yuan stopped and looked at a silver-white robe floating in the air. The silver-white robe was covered with moons of various shapes, such as circular, semicircular, and crescent moons. The moonlight within the empty robe shone brightly. At the neck of the robe, there was a cluster of green flames. It was like a green lantern. The silver-white robe came within 10 meters of Yu Yuan and stopped vigilantly, not daring to come any closer. Moreover, looking at the posture of the silver-white robe, it seemed that if something went wrong, it would immediately flee as far as it could. "You're very brave." Yu Yuan looked at the green flame at the neck of the robe. "You plotted against me once before, and you still don't know what's good for you. Do you want to try again?" The aura of the spirit was too familiar. Yu Yuan had long since recognized that the spirit wearing the robe was the so-called strongest lunar devil, Consort Yu. Consort Yu had wrapped herself in a strange robe from somewhere and dared to come again. "This time, I want to have a good talk with you." Many moons shone in the robe, allowing Consort Yu to speak with incomparable fluency. Her voice was even clearer and more pleasing to the ears than when she had entrusted Feng Xian and that naive girl in white. "This robe?" Yu Yuan was stunned. "I don't know why it's scattered in the forbidden area, but it should be a relic of the lunar devils." Consort Yu's spirit flickered as she said, "This time, I really want to talk with you, the guardian of the forbidden area." "What do you want to talk about?" Yu Yuan sneered. "You think you're qualified to talk to me?" "Have you heard of the so-called fourth sect?" Consort Yu asked. "What's the fourth sect?" "The fourth great sect of the Tianyuan continent." Chapter 124. The fourth great sect? Yu Yuan's face was filled with confusion. His thoughts were thrown into disarray. Let alone this life, he had never even heard of the fourth great sect of the Tianyuan continent in his previous life. The Xuantianzong, the primal Yang sect, and the Sword sect had always been the three great sects of the Tianyuan continent. For thousands of years, the three great sects had allied with the seven lesser sects to confront the Devil's Palace, the Goblin Temple, and the many strange cultivators on the tranquil continent. Where did the fourth great sect come from? In his previous life, the Medicine God sect had placed high hopes on him. He didn't have any cultivation talent, and he had been elected sect master solely because of his alchemy skills. He knew many secrets about the three continents in the Hauran continent. His master had also explained to him in detail. Even he had never heard of the existence of the fourth great sect in the Tianyuan continent. Why would this moon devil, who had descended from the sky, suddenly say that there was a fourth great sect in the Tianyuan continent? Yu Yuan's first reaction was that this moon devil called consort you might be talking nonsense. The fourth great sect has always been in charge of this continent. Imperial concubine Moon's green soul in the silver-white robe suddenly shook violently. She seemed to be very excited. I, too, only learned of this information after my soul fused with this robe. Furthermore, the information isn't complete. I don't even know the name of the fourth great sect. This robe? Yu Yuan was surprised. That's right. Imperial concubine Moon immediately responded. On the robe, every moon shape is engraved with a message. After my soul entered it, I tried to sense it, and obtained some incomplete and one-sided information. One part of it is about the Moon Devil clan, and the other part is about this continent and the fourth great sect. If there really is a fourth great sect, where is it now? It seems that the fourth great sect has been destroyed. Destroyed. Yes. Yu Yuan frowned as he rubbed his chin, his expression uncertain. For example, the Xuantianzong sect, the Primal Yang sect, and the Sword sect would definitely have a terrifying reserve power. They might even have more than one nascent divinity realm expert overseeing them. It was hard for him to imagine that such a powerful sect would be annihilated. Hauran, heaven and earth. Which of the three continents could do it? Unless, he suddenly thought of a possibility, and his hair stood on end as his expression changed. Continue. He gestured to consort Yu. From the bits and pieces of information I got from the robe, I know that the so-called fourth high sect is the best at soul refining. In terms of the condensation of the three souls, the heaven, earth, and man, the fourth high sect had many mysteries and peculiarities. The many other souls and evil spirits that are sealed in this world are the work of the fourth high sect. The fourth great sect is suppressing those deviant souls and evil spirits while using them to strengthen themselves. From another perspective, all the alien souls and evil spirits here are soul food for the cultivators of the fourth high sect. This includes many of our moon devils who were captured in an even earlier era. This robe is also a relic of one of our kind from a time before we descended. Consort Yu was filled with hatred for the so-called fourth high sect as she spoke. Yu Yuan, on the other hand, was flabbergasted by her words. If, as she said, the fourth high sect used all the other souls and evil spirits in this forbidden area as food for their disciples to cultivate, strengthen their souls, and condense their yin spirits, yang spirits, and even nascent divinities, then the fourth high sect was definitely a sect in Hauran that was judged to be on par with the blood god. The heroic soul incantation that Liu Chan practiced had similar attributes, so it was a forbidden incantation. Once it was discovered, it would very likely lead to disaster. That's not right. Yu Yuan pondered for a while and suddenly said, "The sword intent I obtained contained a sword soul that was an ancient sword intent. There wasn't any mysterious incantation related to soul cultivation. That person may have come from the fourth high sect, or may have a deep relationship with it. I don't know." Consort Yu pondered, as if she was recalling the past. It's also possible that he replaced the fourth high sect after it was destroyed and became the new person to guard this forbidden area. He climbed to the top of the bright moon and slashed it with his sword to bring you down? Yu Yuan asked. Yes. What's his name? What's the name of that sword? Well, Consort Yu suddenly stammered, and didn't answer his question directly. I don't know if there are any survivors of the moon devils in this forbidden area. Consort Yu changed the topic and said, I want you to promise to give the moon devils a way out. If you see me and the moon devils in this area, don't kill them. What about your repayment? Yu Yuan said with narrowed eyes. My repayment is... Just as Consort Yu was about to give an answer, she suddenly let out a shrill scream. The silver-white robe instantly flew into the distance with her green spirit soul wrapped in it. The patterns on the silver-white robe that were circular, semicircular, and crescent moons shone brightly for a moment before fading away. An invisible force seemed to grab the silver-white robe and pull it into Consort Yu's spirit soul, which had fused into it, and she was in so much pain that she wanted to die. The silver-white robe flew away so fast that Yu Yuan didn't even have time to react before it disappeared from his sight. He didn't even have time to raise his arm and swing his sword. At the same time, a gloomy, icy spirit soul appeared in the distant sky where the silver-white robe had been taken away, and sent a provocative message to Yu Yuan. It seemed to be saying that he was waiting for Yu Yuan to come at any time. Yu Yuan didn't even need to think to know that the changes in the Forbidden Land had caused another powerful soul to shine with new life like the golden skeleton and break free from the restriction that had lasted for tens of thousands of years. That soul shouldn't be able to escape for the time being. Its power couldn't reach too far, and it was completely focused on Yu Yuan. That soul didn't have absolute confidence in Yu Yuan, and it couldn't escape. It could only take Consort Yu away with the silver-robed Consort Yu so that she wouldn't say too much and expose too much. That soul should still be in its own nest. Only there could it release its strongest power. That was why it had provoked Yu Yuan to come here. The fourth great sect's soul cultivation was unique. It suppressed this place, but it was destroyed. Yu Yuan muttered. There are no records of the fourth great sect in the Howran world. The Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent don't have any records of the fourth great sect either. Could it be? Everyone participated in the destruction of the fourth great sect? And their methods weren't honorable. Yu Yuan couldn't help but chuckle. This is getting more and more interesting. If Consort Yu's words were true, he felt that the fourth great sect, which had disappeared for many years, was most likely destroyed by the three great sects of the Tianyuan continent, the Devil's Palace, and the Goblin Temple of the Tranquil continent. As for the seven great sects of the Tianyuan continent, they could only act as assistants. The fourth great sect must have crossed the bottom line of all the powerful factions. That was why it had suffered such a calamity. I only hope that the sword soul I've obtained has nothing to do with the fourth great sect. Yu Yuan looked into the distance again. Otherwise, I'll be in big trouble. As for the powerful soul that had taken away Consort Yu and temporarily broken free from some restriction, Yu Yuan wasn't worried. After so long, I don't believe that you still have peak power. He sat down cross-legged on the spot. For the first time, he tried his best to communicate with the sword soul contained in the sword light on his arm. He wanted to control more restriction power in this world. I want to know more about this ancient formation. Chapter 125. In Yu Yuan's perception, the shade that had taken Consort Yu away was definitely stronger than the golden skeleton. It was even more difficult to deal with than the grade 7 flood dragon spirit. Such a shade had broken free and awakened under the suppression of the ancient restrictions. Furthermore, it had clearly sent a provocative message to him. As the sword guard and the enforcer of this forbidden land, Yu Yuan naturally had to deal with it. The sword soul was his greatest trump card. He needed to understand this world through the sword spirit and learn more about its secret. He also needed to connect to the strange, large-scale ancient formation and make the shade that had provoked him pay the price. As soon as he thought of this, the sword light in his arm became extremely hot. His two arms were as red as cooked prawns. Yu Yuan communicated with the sword spirit through his heavenly soul. Very quickly, he sensed a violent and dissatisfied aura from the sword spirit within the sword light. That aura was naturally targeted at the shade that had provoked him and taken Consort Yu away. Obviously, when the shade wrapped in the silver robe appeared in this space, the sword spirit had naturally sensed it and should know what had happened. However, after the sword light burned for a while, it gradually cooled down and stopped emitting. Wisps of faintly discernible will that only Yu Yuan's heaven soul could sense quietly flew out of the sword soul in his arm bone. Those wisps of consciousness revealed a vague and imprecise message. It seemed to be persuading Yu Yuan and telling Yu Yuan to calm down. The sword spirit was obviously very familiar with his body's condition. It must have a deep understanding of the powerful shade that had broken free after awakening. The sword spirit told him not to be impatient and not to be provoked. It told him not to follow the powerful shade's will and go to that area immediately. The sword spirit told him to wait and continue to strengthen himself. So you're saying that I'm not strong enough to kill that powerful shade right now? Yu Yuan gradually understood. I'm still too weak for now, and he's currently in a strong state? I still need time to increase my strength and continue to condense my heavenly soul? Only in this way will I be able to use more of the restrictive power of this world? That way, your power can be transmitted better? The sword soul responded vaguely, telling him that his guess was right. Yu Yuan, who was unable to retaliate immediately, stood there in a daze and communicated with the sword soul again. He wanted to know more about this forbidden land, especially about the fourth sect. However, the sword spirit didn't give him a clear answer. It still said that he was too weak to deal with too many things for the time being. It only advised him not to be impatient and to work hard to become stronger. Left with no choice, Yu Yuan could only focus on her own cultivation, as the sword soul had hoped. As for the moon demon who had been captured alive, regardless of whether he was dead or alive, his Tao heart would not be disturbed. He held his breath and concentrated on the spot. The fiendish fiend body refinement art operated in a quiet manner, borrowing the violent and chaotic spiritual energy in this place to tear apart his flesh, causing beads of blood to seep out of every pore on his body. He officially began the tempering of his muscles and blood at the mid-stage of the spirit nurture realm. Accompanied by a series of roars, he cultivated selflessly. Every time he was on the verge of death and his flesh was torn apart, he would use origin spirit pills and spirit stones to recover. As for the demon core that Li Yu had given him, he had long refined the rich qi and blood in it. Therefore, he secretly wondered if he should ask others if there were any pills like the demon core that could be faster and more beneficial to the cultivation of the spirit nurture realm. He didn't slack off on the cultivation of the extreme wisdom soul tempering art. He would also use it in his free time. On this day, with Li Yuchan in the lead, Li Yu and Zhao Yafu came searching. It was unknown what had happened between the three of them. Zhao Yafu chattered incessantly as she circled Li Yuchan and spoke endlessly. Although Li Yuchan's face was cold, there was no disgust in his expression. There was only a little helplessness. Before he left to meet Consort Yu, Li Yuchan was still determined to kill Zhao Yafu. If he hadn't interfered, Zhao Yafu might have been dead. Who knew that in such a short period of time, Zhao Yafu would dare to surround that cruel and cold-blooded woman and talk endlessly? This lass, while Yu Yuan laughed involuntarily, he naturally noticed that the divine light in Li Yuchan's eyes was restrained. There was a faint spirit consciousness floating all over his body like seaweed. The dissipation of spirit consciousness was a sign of entering the Yin spirit realm. This meant that the realm was not stable yet. Otherwise, even the faint spirit consciousness would be restrained into the Naiwan in his upper dantian. Sister Li, congratulations on advancing to the Yin spirit realm. Yu Yuan smiled brightly as though nothing had happened. He said warmly with a face full of sunshine, with you advancing to the Yin spirit realm, our future journey will definitely be much easier. To be honest, from the moment I met you, I knew that you were cold on the outside but kind on the inside. You are a truly considerate big sister. Shut up. Before he could finish, Liu Chan interrupted him coldly. Not long ago, Yu Yuan's ruthlessness and indifference to life left her with lingering fear. He was clearly an extremely shameless and bloody butcher. Now that the matter was over, he was pretending to be a pure lamb in front of her. Yu Yuan, you are so shameless that I feel disgusted just looking at you. Liu Chan cursed in her heart before saying, Why didn't you turn back to look for us? Weren't you afraid that I would kill last Zhao after you left? Zhao Yafa chuckled and said sweetly, Sister won't. I'm not asking you. Liu Chan glared at her. Zhao Yafu stuck out her tongue and shut up obediently. I believe that you will keep your promise. If you don't attack at the beginning, you won't do it later on. Yu Yuan's expression was calm as he asked Liu, How's the soul sacrifice sphere? Liu said calmly, It advanced. Congratulations. Yu Yuan nodded. From beginning to end, Liu had never mentioned the rank of the soul orb, but from what Yu Yuan could tell, this unique soul artifact should be between the 5th and 6th rank of the Earth rank. Through the consumption of souls during this period of time, the soul orb could possibly reach the 7th or 8th rank of the Earth rank. If the soul sacrifice sphere could reach grade 9 Earth grade by the end of this trip to the Forbidden Grounds, Liu would have profited greatly. If he took another step forward and upgraded the sacrificial soul orb from an Earth grade item to a Heaven grade item, Liu would be able to make a fortune. Let alone the Qianxian continent, a Heaven-grade artifact was already famous in the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent. It was a rather rare artifact. Especially the soul sacrifice sphere, which was a soul artifact, was extremely rare and precious. I've sent a message to the others. They should be coming one after another, Liu said. Yu Yuan nodded in understanding. Then, he curiously examined Liu Chan and Zhao Yafu. What happened between the two of you? He could see that Liu Chan no longer hated Zhao Yafu and no longer had any thoughts of killing her. It has nothing to do with you, Liu Chan said coldly. Zhao Yafu spread her hands with a helpless expression, indicating that it was not appropriate to say more. Yu Yuan did not pursue the matter. Half a day later, the others led by Yen Lu, Zhang Tianxiang, and Su Yan arrived one after another. However, there seemed to be a few people missing from the group. The people who came were silent with sorrowful expressions. Chapter 126. Brother! Yu Feifei rushed over and tugged at Yu Yuan's sleeve, tears welling up in her eyes. Frowning, Yu Yuan lowered his head and asked, What's wrong? He noticed that Yuan Ting's head was bowed slightly, as if he didn't dare to look at him. Zhao Yafu exclaimed softly. She flashed from Liu Chan's side to Yuan Ting's side and asked a member of the Zhao family, Zhao Haiwe, where's Zhao Yang? He's dead, the Zhao family member said miserably. Yu Yuan also discovered that 2 of the Yuan family members who had followed Yuan Ting were also missing. It wasn't just Dark Moon City. People from the Yen family, the Su family, Zhang Tianxiang, and Han Hui's teams were all missing. Those who disappeared without a trace were most likely dead. Yu Yuan, after the 3 of you left, we continued to search the bottom of the pit to see if we missed anything, Zhang Tianxiang said with a bitter smile. Zhang Tianxiang smiled bitterly and said, I don't know what's going on, but a group of deviant souls and evil beings suddenly swarmed over. In the process of fighting with us, many of our people were killed. Seeing that the situation wasn't good, we continued to retreat into the depths of the Forbidden Land. It wasn't until we saw Liu's soul orb floating in the air and shining like a guiding light that we came over. All kinds of evil beings that chased us along the way finally retreated. Speaking up to this point, Zhang Tianxiang's eyes were filled with resentment. The 3 of you are important figures who can suppress spirit souls. After you left, it was naturally difficult for us to encounter those people. The others more or less had some complaints, but didn't say anything. Liu had the soul orb, Liu-chan had a high cultivation base, and Yu Yuan was the enforcer of the Forbidden Land. If there was one of them, they wouldn't have been in such a sorry state and lost so many people. This Forbidden Land is becoming more and more dangerous. Yen Lu, who had always been hot-tempered, was very calm in the face of danger. More and more evil beings have appeared for some reason. There may be more in the future. I hope the three of you won't stray too far from us, or else. He sighed softly. Or else, I'm afraid we won't have any hope of walking out of this world alive. Su Yen nodded in agreement. The rest of the survivors all tried to persuade them. They made up their minds that this time, they would never be separated from Yu Yuan and the other two. To them, separating meant facing death at any moment. General Liu? Su Yen of the Su family stared at Liu-chan for a while before suddenly exclaiming in shock. Everyone subconsciously looked over. I was lucky to break through, said Liu-chan coldly. Everyone was in an uproar. You! Zhang Tianxiang stared at Yu Yuan. I'm only at the middle stage of the spirit nurture stage, Yu Yuan said with a smile. In the blink of an eye, the gazes of the people who had rushed over all landed on Li Yu and Zhao Yafu. Then, to his surprise, he discovered that the four of them either had made breakthroughs in their cultivation or were holding items that showed obvious signs of strengthening. Moreover, was it like Zhao Yafu, whose aura had risen sharply, as if she could break through the shackles of her realm at any time and advance further? How long had it been since they left? Why did these four people who were far away from the group have increased their strength to different degrees in such a short time? No one could figure it out, but they were even more certain that as long as they maintained the same pace as them, they would also benefit from it and improve their cultivation or combat strength. From now on, I will lead the way. Yu Yuan took the initiative to step forward and take the authority in his own hand. Everyone from now on, listen to my orders. I will try not to leave for too long and do my best to escort everyone out of this forbidden ground and into the territory of the Crimson Sun Empire. Yen Lu, Su Yen, Zhang Tianxiang and the others looked at Li Yu and Liu-chan with strange gazes. The Li family was the imperial family of the empire, and Liu-chan had just entered the Yin spirit realm. She was at her strongest and most confident. She had always been strong, so how could she be willing to listen to Yu Yuan's orders? Surprisingly, Liu-chan did not do anything extreme at all. She was strangely quiet. After Yu Yuan finished speaking, Liu nodded lightly in agreement, as though he had accepted everything humbly. No one knew what had happened among them, but from Liu-chan and Liu's performance, they knew that Yu Yuan was the leader of the group. Follow me. Yu Yuan communicated with the Sword Soul and chose a direction according to the Sword Soul's guidance. He dared to accept the order in the face of danger because he had his own confidence. Even without the Sword Soul in his body, his experience and knowledge from his previous life surpassed Liu-chan and Liu. In his previous life, what kind of young talents and old demons had he not seen? Liu was weaker in every aspect compared to the genius seeds of the Tianyuan continent and Tranquil continent. Didn't those people obediently bow their heads to him in his previous life? Didn't the soul-traversing realm, Yang spirit realm, and carefree realm cultivators also lower their heads when they met Yu Yuan and begged for pills? How could Liu-chan compare to them? After Yu Yuan, who had lived 2 lives, made a decision, he swept away his previous laziness and began to wield authority. The aura and bearing he released was completely different from before. Even young girls like Su Yen and Han Hui, who had high standards, felt that Yu Yuan's entire body was glowing at this moment. Liu-chan could not help but take a few more glances at him, as though she was seeing him for the first time. With the Sword Soul guiding them, the journey was very smooth. Along the way, Li Yuchan had said that there was an abnormal soul activity in another direction. Yu Yuan knew that the direction she sensed was where the sword soul wanted him to avoid. It was the powerful soul that had abducted Consort Yu. Li Yuchan had no objections when Yu Yuan chose to avoid it. He was in charge of everything. 2 days later, deep in the forbidden grounds, they saw a region of thick white fog. As they approached, everyone smelled an abnormally pure and dense spiritual energy, heard waves of rumbling, and even saw that from the depths of the dense fog, a treasured light that was like multicolored clouds constantly shot out. Could a rare treasure have appeared? Everyone suddenly became excited. They almost forgot that Yu Yuan was the leader and planned on charging over. Stop! Yu Yuan's shout calmed everyone down. Wait. Wait for the spirit fog to dissipate. Wait for that thing to float out from the bottom of the pit. Yu Yuan swept his gaze across them and said, Even I don't dare to charge over without knowing anything. What gives you the right to do so? As he said this, he deliberately glanced at Li Yuchan. This was because Li Yuchan was the fastest. If he had not shouted in time, Li Yuchan would have entered the depths of the spirit fog. I'm in danger too? Li Yuchan clearly didn't believe him. I just warned you. Yu Yuan grinned. Now that I've warned you, if you don't believe me, you can give it a try. I know that you are at the Een Soul realm and have just stabilized. Do you want to try leaving your Een Soul? When he said that, Li Yuchan hesitated. Perhaps you don't know how many Een Souls have died in this forbidden grounds, right? Yu Yuan added. Li Yuchan hesitated for a moment before calming down. He did not say a word. Let's wait, Yu Yuan said. Just like that, they waited for 2 full hours. As expected, the thick white fog gradually dissipated. As for the waiting group, they discovered that the spirit energy contained in the white fog was abnormally rich and could be directly absorbed. Look! Zhang Tianxiang turned excited. In front of them, where the white fog dissipated, a prismatic moon fragment floated out from the depths of the pit. It was silver and translucent. Inside the translucent boulder, there were indiscernible prices that emitted colorful light. Yu Yuan, if it's a rare treasure, how should we split it? Li Yuchan shouted. We'll split it however I want. Chapter 127. Since ancient times, there had been many legends about the forbidden land of the fallen moon. According to the legends, there were precious treasures that had come from beyond the heavens and imprisoned evil spirits. There were ancient boulders that were carved with the truths of heaven and earth. Once one comprehended them, they would be able to break through the shackles of cultivation. That was why this forbidden land had attracted countless cultivators over the past thousands of years. It wasn't just the Qianxian continent. Grand cultivators from the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent, as well as Soul Wander, Yang God, and Freedom Realm experts, had all come here to explore and had made different gains. Some people had actually broken through their cultivation here, comprehended wondrous sword incantations, and refined their souls. Some people had also discovered relics of ancient sages, and incantations that had been passed down in secret places. Yuan Lianyao was one of those who had benefited from this. Now, seeing a huge, glittering, prismatic fragment of the moon magically floating out from the bottom of the pit, everyone was excited. Under the bright moonlight, the huge prismatic rock was still spinning gently. The sparkling moonlight was like a silver rainbow as it flowed rapidly inside the stone. The rock seemed to be hollow. The people who stared at the giant rock had a strange feeling of calmness in their minds and souls. As the white mist dissipated, the onlookers couldn't help but move closer to the floating rock. Yu Yuan, however, didn't try to stop them. Around the deep pit, the surviving trial takers of the Forbidden Land all stared at the floating boulder, narrowing their eyes as they stared at the vague object inside the boulder. The object continued to blossom with multicolored light, so bright that it hurt their eyes. Waves of majestic energy fluctuations were being emitted from the object. Thump, thump, Everyone who stared at the object felt their hearts beat faster, and their flesh auras churned. Roar! Zhang Tianxiang suddenly let out a roar that sounded like that of a wild beast. His muscles bulged and his veins bulged. His clothes were instantly shredded to pieces. The trial takers who were close to him immediately backed away, as they sensed that Zhang Tianxiang was about to go crazy and was about to unleash a strange, indescribable demonic qi. Everyone subconsciously looked over. Zhang Tianxiang, whose lower body was wrapped in animal skin shorts, was shining with a golden light as if he had been poured with liquid gold. The totem tattoo of the golden elephant appeared once again, as if it had been carved with golden blood. It looked very lifelike. But this time, the golden elephant ancient god's will did not descend. However, the rich flesh aura that surged out of Zhang Tianxiang's body caused his eyes to shine like golden pearls, exuding a demonic aura. Qi. A beam of golden light shot out of Zhang Tianxiang's chest and dantian. Something's not right. Han Hui's expression suddenly changed, and her face was filled with astonishment. Zhang Tianxiang is clearly only at the late stage of the Golden Hall realm, and he clearly hasn't broken through. His middle dantian. I just broke through, and the mysterious gate in my middle dantian was stimulated by that strange treasure. The demonic power of the ancient god of the golden elephant imprinted in my flesh was opened. Li Yuchan's cold voice sounded at the right time. He said with slight envy, "The treasure on that enormous rock is probably fated to be with Zhang Tianxiang. It should be the relic of a great demon." Just broke through? The shattering profound realm? Su Yan's delicate body trembled. Zhang Tianxiang was originally not among the 5 new moons of the empire. He was recognized as a genius of the second tier, who was slightly inferior to them. But now? Zhang Tianxiang, who was about the same age as them, had suddenly broken through the limit of the Golden Hall realm and officially stepped into the Shattering Profound realm. Did reaching the Shattering Profound realm so smoothly at such a young age mean that he had already surpassed them? Thinking of this, Su Yan couldn't help but feel bitter. Zhang Tianxiang, be careful. At this moment, Yu Yuan raised his voice and exhorted, "Let the essence of your qi and blood come into contact with that huge rock bit by bit. If anything goes wrong, withdraw it immediately." Zhang Tianxiang nodded vigorously, but he didn't have the time to respond with words. His expression was ferocious, and his eyes shone with golden light. All of his energy was focused on the golden pillar of light that shot out of the mysterious gate in front of his chest. He only felt strands of flesh aura soaring into the sky fly out of the tattoo on his body and enter the golden pillar of light. Specks of golden light could be vaguely seen within the golden pillar of light. Every speck of golden light, after being magnified millions of times, would be discovered to be an ancient god of golden elephants. There were all kinds of ancient gods of golden elephants in different postures. Some were crouching, some were soaring into the sky, some were howling in the wilderness, some were attacking enemies, and some were moving mountains and seas. The different ancient gods of golden elephants were branded with the demonic power of the ancient god of golden elephants, and condensed into the golden pillar of light. Crack, crack, crack. Crack, crack. The moment the golden pillar of qi came into contact with the huge rock, the moon fragment that had floated out of the hole instantly shattered. Pieces of rock were thrown to the bottom of the hole like a meteor shower. After washing away all of the debris, the treasure hidden within was finally revealed. It was a boxing glove. It was a golden metal glove with many mysterious demonic patterns that exuded a rough, domineering, and barbaric aura. The metal glove flowed with dazzling golden light, an unusual demonic power and flesh aura vibrated within it. However, the moment the golden pillar of light touched the golden glove suddenly disappeared. The next moment, the golden glove was already on Zhang Tianxiang's right hand. The moment the glove was put on, countless golden sparks sputtered out of the glove and naturally entered Zhang Tianxiang's profound gate in his middle dantian, turning into the essence of his profound gate. A violent and barbaric demonic aura immediately erupted from Zhang Tianxiang's body, startling even Li Yuchan. On the other hand, the tattoo of the ancient god of golden elephants quietly disappeared. I need to stabilize my cultivation. Zhang Tianxiang glanced at Yu Yuan, then suddenly jumped, stepping on the stone steps like a golden rock, and dove down to the bottom of the hole. Do you still remember the decaying skeleton of the giant elephant from before? Yu Yuan looked at the crowd with a smile and said, I think everyone should have noticed. That golden glove originally belonged to the direct descendant of the ancient god of golden elephants. That giant elephant died, but the combat glove it wore was left behind. It must have sensed Zhang Tianxiang's aura, which is why it floated up from the ground with that moon fragment in tow. This opportunity belongs to Zhang Tianxiang. Apart from him, none of us can be acknowledged by the golden glove. He didn't need to explain further. Everyone understood that the golden glove could only be used by Zhang Tianxiang. With Zhang Tianxiang, the Zhang family will probably stand out in the future. Li Yuchan mentally told Li Yu, they'll be able to enter the shattering profound realm like you and be acknowledged by the treasure when they broke through. The Zhang family has already established a deep connection with the ancient god of golden elephants that has been in hiding for many years. Before the ancient god of golden elephants' cultivation fell, he was the Yao god of the Goblin Temple. Even after his cultivation fell, he was still an important member of the Goblin Temple. Having a connection with the ancient god of golden elephants means that the Zhang family has a connection with the Goblin Temple of the Tranquil Continent. The Goblin Temple is on the same level as the Xuantianzong sect, the Primal Yang sect, the Sword sect, and the Devil's Palace. She had a whole new level of respect for Zhang Tianxiang's luck. Since the Zhang family came from the Silver Moon Empire, as the sister of the Empress, she naturally had to pay more attention. Li Yu nodded slightly, indicating that he understood. The golden glove belongs to Zhang Tianxiang. No one should have any objections. Yu Yuan spoke again. In the future, if there are any treasures that are naturally compatible with one of us, we'll share them. Then, the treasures will be distributed like Zhang Tianxiang. What do you all think? Agreed. Agreed. There's no problem with this distribution. We agree. Everyone nodded in agreement. Let's wait for Zhang Tianxiang. He won't take too long. Everyone can recover. Yu Yuan smiled and said, there's another place not far from us. It should be hiding something special. Everyone's eyes lit up when they heard this. Chapter 128. Yu Yuan had purposely avoided a certain place in the forbidden area. A gigantic bronze stele floated in the middle of a large, oval-shaped hole. It was at least 100 times larger than the one at the entrance of the forbidden area. On the surface of the bronze stele, there were so many inscriptions that it was impossible to count them all. A blurry, enormous soul could be seen floating inside the stele from time to time. Thousands of weak evil spirits could be seen flying around the bronze stele like a swarm of locusts. From time to time, a wisp of dark light would fly out of the stele. Then, an evil soul was sucked into the bronze stele by the dim light and became a snack for the huge outsider soul inside the bronze stele, which was slowly devoured by it. The silver-white robe floated around the tombstone, just like the other evil soul spirit. Consort Yu's green soul trembled inside the robe. Whoosh! The enormous bronze stele suddenly shot towards the ceiling of the hole. A violent aura that seemed to be able to tear apart heaven and earth erupted from within the stele. Countless inscriptions fell from the surface of the stele like raindrops. The inscriptions on the stele all manifested profound soul incantations, ancient spells, and the long-lost soul guidance incantation. With a series of crackling sounds, The inscriptions penetrated all of the evil spirits surrounding the steel and drained all of their soul power, revealing the wonders of the inscriptions. Zlotsla. Suddenly, lightning fell from the sky like a waterfall. Dazzling sword lights flew out from the depths of the hole. The inscriptions on the steel and the evil spirits were instantly reduced to ashes. The inscriptions on the steel seemed to have disappeared, but they quietly reappeared on the surface of the steel. It was just that the inscriptions were slightly faint. Tens of thousands of evil spirits died as the bronze monument soared into the sky. All that was left was the silver-white robe floating alone beside the bronze steel. Among them, Imperial concubine Moon's soul shined with green flames. Looking at her, she seemed indescribably desolate, filled with fear and despair. The bronze monument was depressed for a while, and then it sank down a little. Then, a mysterious chant that reached directly to the soul came from the powerful soul within the steel. It seemed to be summoning souls. Then, a few scattered evil spirits that had been wandering in other places were attracted by the chant and pulled into the deep pit. Dozens, hundreds, and even thousands of evil spirits began to gather. The moment the chanting stopped, all of the evil spirits that had been attracted to this place seemed to suddenly wake up and shiver in fear and uneasiness. However, not a single evil spirit dared to escape. The powerful outsider soul that had fused with the bronze steel continued to grab evil spirits from time to time, pulling them into the steel and chewing them slowly. This repeated over and over. Consort Yu, who was wearing a silver-white robe, watched as the bronze tombstone gathered more and more evil spirits. Once it reached a certain amount, it would try to charge out. Every time, they were blocked by lightning and sword rainbows. Tens of thousands of evil spirits were annihilated, but not a single crack could be seen on the bronze steel. The powerful outsider soul that had been dormant in the middle of the steel was still persevering. The powerful outsider soul seemed to know that it would be able to break free one day as long as it continued to do so. After tens of thousands of years, it had become extremely patient. It seemed that it would be able to continue like this for another 100 years or even 1,000 years. It would be fine as long as it could break free. Consort Yu felt incomparably regretful at this moment. She hated that she had chased after Yu Yuan from the forbidden area to this place. Only after coming to this forbidden area did she realize that the Moon Devil clan was nothing compared to the many evil spirits in the forbidden area. The powerful outsider soul within the bronze steel alone was an unreachable existence to her. This item was still restricted. Furthermore, it had been restricted for an unknown number of years. How many more evil spirits were sealed in this forbidden area like that powerful outsider soul? If they escaped from the forbidden area and were chased by the Tianyuan continent and the tranquil continent, wouldn't they become the nightmare of the foreign heavenly devils if they escaped into the Hauran continent? Thinking of this, Imperial concubine Moon sadly discovered that her so-called efforts didn't have much meaning at all. The Moon Devil clan was just a small character in the depths of the forbidden area. You're right to think that way. I was the one who ate your Moon Devil ancestors. A thought that reached straight to the soul poured into Consort Yu. Kid, if you don't come soon, you won't have any value. The souls of the Moon Devil clan are quite delicious. I do miss them. Consort Yu's soul became even more miserable when this thought appeared. So it's like this. Yu Yuan stood at the center of a ruined palace somewhere in the forbidden area. He looked around and said, "Everyone, let's look around." Everyone, including Li Yuchan, entered the palace ruins with faces full of shock. Only Zhang Tianxiang was in no hurry to act. He stood beside Qin Lai and smiled brightly. Yu Yuan, I can't thank you enough for your kindness. Everyone was here before, so I can't say much. I'll tell you now, if I can leave the forbidden area alive, I won't stand by and do nothing if the Yu family is in danger in Dark Moon City. It's good that you have the heart, Yu Yuan said coolly. What he was thinking about was something else. The palace ruins in front of him, the broken walls, and the collapsed pillars all revealed one truth. A sect used to be stationed here. Consort Yu's words appeared in his mind again. This forbidden area had once been suppressed by the fourth great sect. They used the souls and evil beings sealed here to refine their souls. There really was a so-called fourth great sect? Many signs showed that Consort Yu's words were probably not a joke. That pair of gloves belonged to a giant elephant that had decayed and turned to dust, Zhan Tianxiang said. That person was the third son of ancient god Golden Elephant. Before he died in the forbidden area, he should have reached the rank of a rank 7 demon beast. His combat strength was comparable to a human soul traversing realm. And that pair of gloves was enhanced by ancient god Golden Elephant's demonic power. He wanted to tell Yu Yuan how important the golden gloves he had obtained this time were. Yu Yuan looked at him and asked, "I see. With these golden gloves, your battle prowess will greatly increase. Are you confident that you can surpass Li Yu in the future?" Zhan Tianxiang chuckled. "I didn't dare to hope before, but now that I have these gloves, I at least dare to think about it." "Good, very good." Yu Yuan nodded and didn't say anything else. He looked at the survivors moving around the broken walls and pillars, hoping to find something. At this moment, his eyebrows suddenly rose. He was surprised to find that the white paper fan with the words, "Extreme wisdom will hurt," was actually shining. It was emitting a sparkling white light. Does the extreme wisdom soul-tempering incantation have anything to do with the fourth great sect? Yu Yuan's expression suddenly became strange. Could it be that the reason why I was favored by the sword spirit is because the soul incantations I practice have something to do with the fourth great sect? Chapter 129. The glow of the white paper fan surprised Yu Yuan. On the white paper, the words, "Extreme wisdom will hurt," were conspicuous. They were like a dark abyss that could drag a person's soul into it. Zhan Tianxiang noticed the glow of the white paper fan and looked at it curiously. He only glanced at it once. Zhan Tianxiang closed his eyes in shock and exclaimed, "Yu Yuan, what's with that fan of yours?" His eyes felt a stabbing pain as if they had been pierced by steel needles. Yu Yuan, on the other hand, was staring at the white fan and the 4 ancient black characters on it. Naturally, she wasn't damaged in the slightest. Could it be that after I used it to cultivate the extreme wisdom soul-tempering art time and time again, it can only resonate with my soul? Yu Yuan was secretly surprised. Other than me, anyone else would feel uncomfortable just looking at it? Yu Yuan. At this moment, someone else saw the wonders of the white paper fan. Holding the soul orb in his hand, Li Yu walked out of the rubble and returned to Yu Yuan's side. Li Yu's eyes shone with a different light as he said, "This fan of yours is giving off strange soul fluctuations." He pointed at the 4 ancient black words, "Extreme wisdom will hurt," on the white paper and said in surprise, "These 4 words seem to be absorbing something?" "That's right." Li Yu-chan unexpectedly responded from afar. These words only sounded in Yu Yuan's mind. No one else could hear them. Li Yu held the soul sacrifice orb. Li Yu-chan had just entered the Yin spirit realm. Their soul sense was far superior to everyone else present. Strange, Yu Yuan, holding the white paper fan, muttered in his heart. Because as the owner of the paper fan, he could not sense anything unusual from the 4 ancient black words. "I'll help you take a look." Li Yu threw out the soul sacrifice orb. The soul sacrifice orb floated above their heads. The orb glowed brightly. Many mysterious runes flashed and scattered light. The light shone on the ruins of the palace. He saw that the strange lines on the shabby, dark yellow walls that were carved with ghostly characters wriggled for a while as if they were alive. Then, they suddenly flew out with a swoosh. It flew into the 4 conspicuous ancient characters on the white paper fan. At the same time, ancient, pale gray stone pillars that were engraved with the carvings of unknown monsters and souls also seemed to be given life, as they broke free from the stone pillars and flew towards Yu Yuan, giving rise to loud roars. In a flash, it flew into the 4 ancient black words, "Extreme wisdom will hurt." Some of the talisman patterns that were carved on the icy ground seemed to have morphed into pocket-sized figures that leaped and jumped into the 4 ancient black characters in high spirit. Liu had purposely shown Yu Yuan these scenes through the soul sphere. Yu Yuan was dumbfounded. Why was it that in this ruined palace in the depths of the Forbidden Land, it could attract those invisible things and make them rush into it? Even I find it hard to believe. Liu took a deep breath as the soul sacrifice orb fell into his palm. He looked curiously at the white paper fan and the 4 ancient black word. It's not a soul that's rushing into those words. It's just. Eyebrows furrowed, Liu tried to organize his words. It's a kind of will, a kind of memory, and a residual emotion that doesn't want to dissipate. Off to the side, Zhang Tianxiang also saw the wonders, but couldn't understand what he was trying to convey. Yu Yuan instantly understood. What seeped into the 4 ancient black words was the light of memories that seemed to be imprinted in the soul of the earth, some kind of inherited knowledge that only existed in words, or the sorrowful emotions that were revealed by the fan. It didn't have any offensive power, self-awareness, or soul power. Puff! Blood suddenly spurted out of the neck of a trial-taker from the Yen clan. "Yen Tong!" Yen Lu roared. He immediately summoned the soul-splitting staff and rushed over. Behind the trial-taker called Yen Tong, a small and indistinct figure had appeared out of nowhere. The short figure merged into Yen Tong's shadow. It wasn't until Yen Tong died that the short figure was discovered. Neither Li Yu, who held the soul sacrifice orb, nor Li Yuchan, who had cultivated to the Yin God stage, noticed it. Even Yu Yuan, who had been acknowledged by the sword soul, didn't sense it at all. Whoosh! The soul-splitting staff, which shone with golden and silver light, shot towards the short figure like a bolt of lightning. Yen Tong's body quietly moved. The soul-splitting staff instantly pierced through Yen Tong's chest and flew out of his back. Only then did Yen Tong's body fall to the ground. The short figure stood on Yen Tong's body in a pool of blood. It was a black-robed boy. The black-robed boy looked to be about 10 years old. His face was blurry, illusory, and unreal. Wisps of black and gray soul will flew out of Yen Tong's corpse, mixed with his blood, and condensed into another Yen Tong in front of the black-robed boy. Then, the other Yen Tong suddenly merged into the black-robed boy. The originally blurry and illusory black-robed boy's figure wriggled and changed rapidly. In a very short time, it turned into Yen Tong's appearance. However, he looked 10 years younger, like the Yen Tong when he was still a child. Everyone knew that he wasn't Yen Tong. Clang! The black-robed boy gently knocked on the soul-splitting staff that was motionless for some reason. The golden and silver patterns engraved on the soul-splitting staff suddenly became incomparably bright. Some kind of new array and pattern seemed to be rearranged in an instant. The black-robed boy gently held the soul-splitting staff in his hand. The soul-splitting staff seemed to be cheering, as if it were welcoming its former owner. Yen Lu's face was ghastly pale. He looked at the black-robed boy as if he had seen a ghost in broad daylight. It used to be yours?" The black-robed boy smiled and nodded slowly, as if praising him for his intelligence. Yu Yuan. At this moment, many people were looking over at him. The black-robed boy that had appeared out of nowhere was clearly not a good person. As soon as he appeared, he killed Yen Tong. As a law enforcer of the Forbidden Land, Yu Yuan, who had killed many evil spirits and abominations, why didn't he do anything? After everyone shouted, the black-robed boy also looked over with a mocking smile on his face. He looked at Yu Yuan. "Big Sister Li, he's yours," Yu Yuan suddenly said. "Why?" Li Yuchan was puzzled. "He's the sword soul that fused with me. The restrictions of this world don't have any malicious intent. Yu Yuan was puzzled because he didn't feel the burning sensation on his arm. He couldn't communicate with his sword soul to make the restrictions of this world respond to him and kill the black-robed boy that had suddenly appeared in front of him. He couldn't even tell if he was real or not. The black-robed boy slowly tightened his grip on the soul-splitting staff. Countless rays of dim light burst out of his palm, as if the array and restrictive power that the Yen family had later engraved in it had been forcibly shaken out by him. Among them were the flesh aura and essence qi that Yen Lu had poured into it day and night. He looked at Yen Lu with a smile. 2 lines of blood slid down Yen Lu's cheeks like small snakes from the corners of his eyes. The small, snake-like lines of blood were like blades. Wherever they passed, the skin on Yen Lu's face would be torn apart. Chapter 130. The black-robed boy did not say anything. However, everyone could tell what he was trying to say from the look in his eyes. For example, at this moment, he looked at Yen Lu with a smile and did not say a word. However, the mockery and ridicule could not be any more obvious. Bloodlines snaked around the corners of Yen Lu's eyes. His expression was ferocious and terrifying. However, Yen Lu was completely powerless when facing him. It was not just Yen Lu. Yu Yuan, who had been at ease since he stepped into this forbidden ground, was also at his wits' end. He could not do anything to the black-robed boy who suddenly appeared in front of him. Who is he? This sentence repeatedly appeared in his mind. Yu Yuan had secretly communicated with the sword soul several times and expressed a strong desire. The sword soul did not react at all. In the sword soul's perception, it did not seem to be an enemy to the black-robed boy. He was not a target to be killed, no matter what the black-robed boy had done. He's just made of flesh and blood without bones. He's actually so evil. While everyone was in shock, Liu Chan finally came to her senses and began to take action. She was wearing heavy armor and had a strong smell of blood. Her slanted eyes were as cold as ice. The iron ring on her left hand suddenly flew out of her hand. The iron hoop in front of him melted into a ball. The pungent smell of blood wafted out from the sphere, making one feel nauseous. In the next moment, droplets of greenish-black blood flew toward the black-clothed boy, exuding icy power. Upon closer inspection, there seemed to be a wisp of her soul in the depths of the greenish-black blood droplets. It was as if many Liu Chan had turned into ghosts to increase the power of the greenish-black blood droplets. The greenish-black blood droplets floated above the black-robed boy's head and suddenly stopped. Within the pearl, Liu Chan's soul, which was supposed to be Liu Chan's, twisted and swayed. It began to undergo an extremely strange transformation towards the black-robed boy's appearance. Just like how the black-robed boy had devoured Yen Tong, Liu Chan in the pearl seemed to want to devour the black-robed boy's soul. In spirit realm. Yu Yuan, who was watching, saw the changes in the greenish-black blood droplets. He knew that after breaking through to Yin spirit realm, the battle between cultivators would involve soul attack. Everyone, stay away from them. Under his command, the people who had rushed into the dilapidated palace retreated like a tide. She retreated behind him. Even though he had already declared that he might not be able to kill the black-robed boy who had suddenly appeared, those people still gathered around him out of habit. However, some of them looked at him from behind with a hint of resentment. She blamed him for not being able to use his arm as a sword and instantly turn the moon demon into ashes like he had killed the moon demon. Yu Yuan, that black-robed boy isn't corporeal. Gripping the soul orb tightly, Liu lowered his voice and said, after he gathered Yen Tong's discarnate soul and flesh, he seemed to have gained a body. But in reality, this is still fake. He should be a special type of spirit soul in the forbidden area. Or perhaps, they're an alien evolved from the fragmentary souls of the human grand cultivators who died in the forbidden land. He didn't open his mouth to speak, which made me feel that his mind wasn't complete. The three souls of heaven, earth, and man were all incomplete. Maybe he's just a part of his yin spirit and yang spirit. Even in the face of the strange black-robed boy, Liu remained calm and didn't panic in the slightest. I heard that Yen Lu's soul-breaking staff really did come from the forbidden land of the fallen moon. It was taken out by the explorers of the past. The staff's origins are unusually ancient. Even now, the Yen family doesn't seem to know who it belongs to or which sect it belongs to. While he was talking to Yu Yuan, the battle between Liu Chan and the black-robed boy had already begun. The black-robed boy didn't seem to have time to pay attention to Yen Lu. The wounds on Yen Lu's face didn't worsen. At this moment, he sat down with his face covered in blood and smeared it with ointment in a sorry state. He said, "The soul-breaking staff, which the moon demon called the soul-splitting staff, should belong to this person. My Yen family once found an expert to confirm this, but he only said that the patterns and formations carved on this staff weren't something that any nation on the Qian continent could copy. It's possible that even the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent don't have similar formations. It seems to be a formation that can merge soul aura into it. That's why I renamed it the soul-breaking staff. After studying it for many years, I've comprehended the wonders of the soul-breaking staff." His artifact was in the black-robed boy's control. At this point, he no longer hid anything. He told everything about the short gold and silver staff truthfully, hoping to help Yu Yuan and let Liu Chan hear it and give him some inspiration. Crack! Golden and silver lightning suddenly appeared from the patterns on the soul-splitting staff held in the black-robed boy's hand. The golden lightning still flowed around the staff's roots. As for the silver lightning, it left the rod with incomparable sharpness. Puff, puff, puff. The silver lightning penetrated the azure-black blood droplets Liu Chan released. The black-robed boy holding the soul-splitting staff was still laughing. He was laughing at Liu Chan for overestimating himself. Liu Chan, who had just condensed her yin soul, clearly did not have enough soul power. After this attack, as the azure-black blood droplets were hit, she became slightly sluggish. The azure-black blood droplets gathered again, turning back into the metal ball and the metal hoop that held her arm. "Lend me the Qingxian sword." The smell of blood exploded from her dantian. When she reached out to Liu, all the pores in her body seemed to roar like demons. At the same time, the numerous sword-light spots that were branded on Yu Yuan's arm grew scorching hot. "Don't!" After stilling for a moment, he panicked and glared at Liu Chan. "Don't do anything rash!" He did not know what other evil arts Liu Chan had cultivated besides using the hero soul art to cleanse her soul. But the moment Liu Chan used the art, the sword soul naturally sensed it. He knew that the art was definitely not ordinary. It was very likely that the art came from an evil spirit that had been killed or suppressed in the Forbidden Land, or a great demon that had died here. If not, the sword soul would not be so sensitive. Liu, who had already summoned the Qingxian sword, showed hesitation because of his shout. The black-clothed boy also stopped mocking at this moment. His eyes were slightly serious. It was as if he sensed the aura in Liu Chan's pores and the terrifying smell of blood coming from the Xian gate. This meant that Liu Chan, who wanted to take out her trump card, was about to use the Qingxian sword to cast the art. It had a great background and its power was definitely extraordinary. Wait. Yu Yuan screamed again and suddenly widened his eyes at the white paper fan in his hand. On the white paper, the 4 ancient black words were like 4 wells that spewed out white smoke. 4 wisps of white smoke, each as thick as a baby's fist, converged 1 meter in the air, surging and changing constantly. It changed into a white-clothed boy. It was a white-clothed boy that was almost identical to the black-clothed boy in front of him who was looking at Liu Chan warily. The black-clothed boy and the white-clothed boy had completely different auras. One was cold and one was hot, one was evil and one was good, one was white and one was black. It was like the 2 sides of the human heart. Chapter 131. Yu Yuan suddenly remembered that the white paper fan had absorbed many chaotic emotions, inheritances, and all kinds of memories. The 4 ancient black characters seemed to have been cleansed and purified. In the end, the 4 ancient black characters flew out and condensed into a white-robed boy. Whoosh! In the depths of this dilapidated palace ruins, there were rays of light invisible to the naked eye flying out from the dilapidated walls and shattered stone pillars. They fused into the white-robed boy one by one. At first, the white-robed boy was as short as a baby, but now he was growing rapidly. In just 10 breaths of time, the white-robed boy had become as tall and as big as the black-robed boy. However, the auras of the two were completely different. Chi-la. Golden lightning suddenly shot out from the soul-splitting staff at the white-robed boy. The white-robed boy raised his hand and grabbed. All the golden lightning condensed and turned into a golden rainbow that wrapped around his waist like a belt. The short gold and silver staff was now only left with a bright silver light. The short staff held by the black-robed boy seemed to have lost half of its power and half of its magic. From the moment the white-robed boy appeared, the black-robed boy didn't look at anyone else. He didn't look at Liu Chan, didn't look at Yu Yuan, and didn't care about Yen Lu. He just looked at his other self. The 2 boys looked at each other from afar for a long time. The others held their breaths and were silent. Their gazes kept changing back and forth between the 2 boys. A thought suddenly appeared in Yu Yuan's mind. Could this boy be a cultivator of the 4th high sect that had disappeared? Only the cultivators of the 4th high sect who guard this forbidden land and cultivate with the shades and evil spirits in the forbidden land shouldn't be targeted by the sword soul, right? Because the cultivators of the 4th high sect were originally the masters of the forbidden land. 1 black and 1 white. Different soul spirits should have evolved from the soul spirit of a cultivator. The white one is the original soul spirit. Could it be that the black one was affected by the forbidden land or devoured too many shades and evil spirits and became like this? Regardless of whether it's black or white, it's the aura of the 4th high sect's cultivators. The sword spirit recognizes them as one of its own, so it doesn't treat them as enemies? As the one holding the sword, Yu Yuan's mind was filled with a myriad of thoughts. He tried to sort out the situation and figure out the origins of the 2 boys before him. If the ruins of the palace belonged to the 4th high sect, then the black-robed boy who came out of it must have something to do with it. The white-clothed boy seemed to have been cleansed by the white paper fan. Then, he condensed the remaining soul power and gathered a portion of his remaining intelligence and consciousness, turning into his current appearance. However, Yu Yuan could sense that both the white-robed boy and the black-robed boy were incomplete. In fact, even if the 2 fused into one, it might not be a complete soul. Who? At this moment, the white paper fan that should have belonged to Yu Yuan suddenly flew out. It landed in front of the boy in white. The 4 dark, conspicuous, and ancient words seemed to have turned into 4 deep, dark eyes that stared at the boy in black at the same time. From beginning to end, the black-robed boy, who had been calm and collected, had obvious fear on his face. His body that had absorbed Yen Tong's flesh, blood, and remnant soul suddenly became as light as a willow catkin. Then, he grabbed the short staff and flew into the distance. The white-robed boy glanced at Yu Yuan as if to say, "Let me borrow it." Yu Yuan was a little confused. The next moment, the white paper fan suddenly flew toward the black-robed boy. The 4 ancient black words, "Extreme wisdom will be hurt," suddenly turned into 4 black holes that could devour evil spirits in Liu Chan and Liu's senses. The 4 black holes flew toward the black-robed boy. The black-robed boy, who had already escaped, turned his head and looked. He seemed to see 4 huge black holes that could devour the world enveloping him together. They sealed all the space and power he could escape with a suffocating pressure. Even someone as evil as him felt powerless and at a loss of what to do. Pfft! The black-robed boy seemed to be torn into 4 streaks of black light by an invisible twisting force. They flew uncontrollably into the four ancient black words. Only the short staff fell to the ground with a clang. It did not merge into the words. There was also a rain of blood and wisps of smoke that scattered around the short rod. The rain of blood and smoke belonged to the dead Yen Tong. The trial takers from the major clans standing behind Yu Yuan watched as the white-robed boy came out of the fan. They watched as the white-robed boy informed Yu Yuan and used the fan to kill the black-robed boy, who had been insufferably violent and arrogant just a moment ago, and then absorbed the four ancient black characters into the fan. Zhang Tianxiang, Han Hui, and the others felt their minds go blank. Among them, the most depressed and regretful one was Su Yan. That white paper fan back in Dark Moon City, in the Zhao family's spirit treasure room, she also saw the wonders of the white paper fan. She wanted to take it, but it was taken away by Yu Yuan. If she had known that the white paper fan contained so many wonders, and the four ancient black words were so mysterious, how could she have given it up? The thought of this made her feel so regretful that her intestines turned green. Fizz! The golden lightning that was wrapped around the white-robed boy's waist flew back to the short gold and silver staff, and turned into the golden circular patterns on the short staff. The golden and silver patterns were still there, and the short staff returned to its original state. The white-robed boy tilted his head and took a deep look at Yu Yuan. Then, he suddenly split into four and flew into the four ancient black words. Like the black-robed boy, he disappeared. It was as if he had grabbed the part of the golden lightning that resonated with his aura only to reduce the black-robed boy's power, and then devour it with the white paper fan. It was as if he had only appeared to take away his other self, so that he would not harm the world and torment all living beings. Thud! The white paper fan fell from the sky and landed at Yu Yuan's feet. Yen Lu endured the tearing pain on his face and staggered towards the place where the short gold and silver staff had fallen. He picked it up again and turned around to look at Yu Yuan. "Is it still mine?" Yu Yuan nodded. "You can use it first. I can't give you an answer for now, but I will know in the future." As he said this, he picked up the white paper fan and said to everyone, "Continue to investigate the palace ruins. I need to be alone." After saying this, he took the white paper fan and moved away from the palace ruins, going somewhere else. He sat down and immersed his mind and consciousness into the four ancient black words on the white paper fan. Liu Chan looked at him from afar, his expression complicated. He didn't say a word. Liu held the soul orb. A rare feeling of bitterness and dejection rose in his heart. Under the white-robed boy's control, when the white paper fan swallowed the black-robed boy, the soul orb he held instinctively became frightened and uneasy. This caused Liu to helplessly recognize a fact. If the white paper fan was an artifact, its level was likely much higher than his soul orb. Chapter 132. Yu Yuan used his mind to feel the sadness from the white paper fan. His consciousness slowly seeped in. He entered the Hui word. Boom. It was as if he had entered a brand new world. The character for Hui seemed to have transformed into a grotesque new world. Countless streaks of black and white light intertwined in the dark, gloomy space. The white-robed boy and the black-robed boy seemed to have moved the battlefield from the outside to the inside. The two were nowhere to be seen. The black and white streams of light entangled together were their wills and souls. They clashed and merged at times. Yu Yuan's consciousness that had entered was abnormally uncomfortable. He could not hold on for long. Without any gains, he immediately left the Hui word world. When his consciousness returned, he panted constantly, sweat beading on his forehead. The battle between the two has not ended. It is not wise for you to barge in now. Liu Chan's cold voice suddenly sounded. Yu Yuan was startled and discovered that she was standing at the side, looking at him with a meaningful gaze. "Do you know what the white-robed boy and the black-robed boy are?" Frowning slightly, Yu Yuan said, "The The reason why I didn't attack him immediately was because the sword soul I obtained didn't view him as an enemy. I need to use the sword soul to activate the restrictions of this world. Yes, I know. Liu Chan nodded. He seemed to feel that it was inappropriate to look down at him from above, so he imitated him and sat down quietly on the spot. I'll tell the others to come and protect you because you're mentally drained. Yu Yuan said, it is indeed draining. The white-robed boy and the black-robed boy came from the same soul. Liu Chan was silent for a few seconds and said with difficulty, it should be a part of a great cultivator who died here. After his Yin soul was destroyed, it escaped from his Yin soul. Yin soul? Yu Yuan was stunned. Yin souls are that powerful? You don't understand what I mean. Liu Chan explained again. That person's realm is definitely not just the Yin soul realm. It could be the Yang soul realm or even the freedom realm. However, his Yang spirit should have completely disappeared, but his Yin spirit had not been completely annihilated. For a true grand cultivator, the Yin spirit and Yang spirit can be independent of the original soul. There's also a Yang spirit realm cultivator in the freedom realm whose Yin spirit far surpasses mine. So, do you understand? Liu Chan found Yu Yuan rather strange. He was familiar with many things about the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent, including the so-called otherworldly demons and the secret arts of the various sections. Why was he so muddle-headed when it came to cultivation? She didn't know that in his previous life, Yu Yuan had worked hard all his life, but he still hadn't been able to step onto the path of cultivation. In other words, Yang God and Freedom Realm Yin gods are far superior to you, a new Yin god? Yu Yuan quickly reacted. He scratched his head and said, I understand now. Every time a grand cultivator breaks through to the next realm, their Yin spirit will also become stronger. Is that so? Liu Chan nodded. That's why the black and white boys that were separated from the Yin spirit are so terrifying. Is it possible that the Yin spirit will be complete after the two become one? Yu Yuan asked. To be honest, I'm not too sure. Liu Chan frowned. Because the two of them, the black-robed boy's part is tainted with too many other things. In a sense, the black-robed boy has become no longer pure. Or rather, he has been demonized. Because of this, the white-robed boy used the white paper fan to imprison him. At this point, Liu Chan paused for a moment before asking, what is that white paper fan of yours? In the distance, Su Yen of the Su family did not continue searching the palace ruins. From time to time, she would glance over. She looked at the white paper fan in Yu Yuan's hand. I got it by chance. Yu Yuan closed the white paper fan and dismissed the thought of continuing to wander with his consciousness. He had a vague feeling that the battle between the black-robed boy and the white-robed boy would take a while before it ended. After the dust settled, the answer to the black-robed boy and the white-robed boy's origins might be revealed. This Fey core is a gift from me. A pale purple pill that emitted rich sanguine aura spun and flew towards Yu Yuan. The pill was translucent and its interior was filled with smoke. From time to time, it would emit a gentle glow that was not blinding. Yu Yuan grabbed it and looked at Liu Chan in surprise. Is this what you use to rapidly replenish your lifeblood at critical moments? Liu Chan nodded. There's no need for it for now. Then I'll be impolite. Yu Yuan did not stand on ceremony and even asked, is there anything that benefits the soul? Liu Chan's expression turned cold as he harumphed. I've just advanced to the Yin spirit realm. If I have such a pill, I'll consume it myself. You know that I might need it more than you. If there's really a shade evil spirit that you can't restrain, I'll have to wield my sword. Yu Yuan grinned. Liu Chan no longer had any interest in talking. He suddenly got up and drifted away. The cultivators who wandered the ruins of the palace ended up empty-handed. With Zhang Tianxiang leading the way, he urged Yu Yuan to hurry up and not waste any more time. Although everyone was curious about the origins of the black-robed boy and the white-robed boy, they did not ask any further after Yu Yuan expressed that he did not know either. The group continued with Yu Yuan leading the way as they headed towards the Scarlet Sun Empire. The cold night was long. On this day, the group that had not encountered any living people for a long time encountered two people who were on their last breaths in a forbidden ground. The old and young duo's bodies were frozen and they were almost out of breath. Both of them wore pale red dermic robes, and there were 7 flames on their chests. The moment Li Yuchan saw them, his expression changed slightly as though he was facing a formidable enemy. Li Yu exclaimed, 7 divine sects! 7 divine sects! The other cultivators' expressions changed slightly when they heard this name. Yu Yuan was confused. He searched his mind and realized that there was no 7 divine sects in the Tianyuan continent or the Tranquil continent. The cultivators of the 7 divine sects have weak auras because Zhan Tianxiang took a few glances and was the first to approach. It's because their spirit qi and blood qi are almost exhausted. Strangely, they did not use spirit stones or pills to replenish and recover. It's not that they don't have any. They must have used up all the spirit stones and pills they brought with them in the forbidden ground. Li Yuchan continued, and they can't absorb the violent and chaotic spirit qi of heaven and earth here. Otherwise, it would only be worse. They were forced to use a method similar to a turtle's breath to maintain their vitality. Yu Yuan, should we save them? Zhan Tianxiang looked at him. Give them some spirit stones and they will slowly recover after absorbing them. What's the origin of the 7 divine sects? Yu Yuan asked. The 7 divine sects is a sect in the Scarlet Sun Empire. The reason it's called the 7 divine sects is because this powerful sect has 7 Yin gods holding down the fort. Zhan Tianxiang's expression was gloomy. The 7 divine sects are our enemies. Kill them, Li Yuchan said. Give them spirit stones and wake them up. I have something to ask them, Yu Yuan said. Chapter 133. In the Qianxian continent there were also some cultivation sects within and outside the empires. These cultivation sects naturally couldn't be compared to the Tianyuan continent or the Tranquil continent. Their strength was generally comparable to the families of those empires. The 7 divine sect was a cultivation sect that was very close to the Scarlet Sun Empire. There were a total of 7 Yin gods in this sect. In any empire, a Yin god was a high-level cultivation force. This was the case for the Silvermoon Empire and the Scarlet Sun Empire. The 7 divine sect, which had 7 Yin gods, was quite famous in the Scarlet Sun Empire and was highly regarded by the Flame Sun Emperor. The 7 divine sect had participated in several battles between the Scarlet Sun Empire and the Silvermoon Empire, and they played a relatively important role. Seeing the old man and the young man wearing clothes that revealed their identity as members of the 7 divine sect, the crowd's expression turned unfriendly. After all, they were enemies of the empire. The elders of the trial-takers' families had died because of the 7 divine sect. If Yu Yuan didn't speak, the old man and the young man from the 7 divine sect would probably be killed to prevent future trouble. Under his signal, Zhan Tianxiang reluctantly took out a few spirit stones and threw them at the feet of the old man and the young man. The spirit stones touched their fingertip. Qi! A dark red light shot out from the old man's fingertip and entered one of the spirit stones. In a very short time, the spirit stone was drained of all of its spiritual power and shattered with a loud bang. It shattered into pieces of grayish-white ordinary stones. Apparently, the old man's awareness had already been awakened, and he pointed his finger at another spirit stone. It wasn't long before all of the spirit stones in front of him were drained of their spiritual power. During this time, Yu Yuan stared at him and asked Li Yuchan with his eyes. Li Yuchan's expression was cold. Impatient, he said, it's just the middle stage of the subtle realm. As soon as he said this, Everyone who was still a little nervous suddenly felt relieved. If it was just the middle stage of the subtle realm, even at his peak, he wouldn't be a match for her, let alone the old man who was clearly exhausted and on the verge of death. The young man who was with him, who should be his disciple, would only be weaker. An old man and a child like this couldn't possibly pose a threat to everyone. They could be easily killed. So what if they woke up? The younger ones were still in a half-dead state, while the older ones recovered their vitality with the help of spirit stones. After a while, they opened their eyes. After opening his eyes, he waved his hand and gathered the spirit stones that had been placed next to the teenager. Then, he held the spirit stones in his hand and looked at the person in front of him. With just a glance, his heart turned cold and his voice trembled. Li Yu-chan? You know me? Li Yu-chan said coldly. I've seen the portrait. The old man seemed very cautious and uneasy. As he spoke, he hastily rose to his feet and put some distance between them. We're here to try our luck, and I'm here to travel. Your Silver Moon Empire is training a new generation. My master and disciple have no intention of causing any trouble. He was afraid that Li Yu-chan would misunderstand. Li Yu-chan's expression was cold. With your cultivation base, you don't have the strength to cause trouble in the training ground we've chosen. If it weren't for the great change in the Forbidden Ground, the master and disciple of the Seven Divinities sect would have been killed the moment the Shun Pearl shone. How did you end up like this? Yu Yuan approached the old man as he retreated. The Forbidden Ground of Fallen Moon has gone out of control. The growth of foreign souls and evil spirits may affect the Scarlet Sun Empire. Given the current situation, the Scarlet Sun Empire and the Silver Moon Empire shouldn't go to war, so you don't have to worry too much. The old man seemed to want to escape without caring about his disciple's life. Ever since he recognized Li Yu-chan, he had shown great fear. It seemed that Li Yu-chan, this female general, was infamous in the Scarlet Sun Empire. Don't retreat. I won't kill you, Li Yu-chan snorted. The old man stood obediently and didn't move. How did you end up like this? Yu Yuan asked again. We came from the Scarlet Sun Empire, and we entered the Forbidden Ground before the training began. The old man said with a bitter expression. Logically speaking, we should have gone back and done so, but... He let out a sigh and said, I don't know why the forbidden land of the fallen moons has suddenly become so strange. An invisible ward has appeared on our path back to the sect. The two of us tried to force our way through several times, but we were restricted by the barrier and couldn't leave the Forbidden Ground. We had no choice but to continue to wander around the Forbidden Ground. Then we were attacked by some spirit souls. Of course we're exhausted in battle. The spirit stones and spirit materials we brought with us were gradually used up. The spirit chi of heaven and earth here is too chaotic, and we can't absorb it directly. As time passed, the situation became like this. He frankly told the truth. After he finished speaking, everyone present fell silent. Their gazes fell on Yu Yuan as if to ask, what should we do if the path to the Scarlet Sun Empire is also blocked by the barrier? Just as Yu Yuan was about to answer, his expression suddenly flickered. Li Yu-chan and Li Yu also suddenly became vigilant. They jerked their heads towards the young man who seemed to have been abandoned by the old man. The young man was dressed in a scholarly green robe. His hair was tied up in a bun, and he looked to be about 17 or 18 years old. His aura was already very weak. His spiritual power and flesh aura seemed to have been completely drained. Previously, all that was left of him was the sound of his heartbeat, as if it were telling them that he was still alive. However, all of a sudden, a surge of mighty soul fluctuations emerged from his mud pill acupoint in his Dantian region. It was as if the boundless soul power hidden in his mud pill acupoint had suddenly burst out. The surge of soul fluctuations instantly made Li Yu-chan's expression change. Staring at him as if he were facing a formidable enemy, he asked, Who are you? Even the old man, who had been retreating a moment ago, stopped running or acting submissive at this moment. Instead, he straightened his back and waited quietly. It was as if he was waiting for the young man's soul to wake up from its dormant state. The upheavals in the forbidden land of the fallen moons are truly unexpected. The young man's voice echoed out from his chest. His eyes were still closed, and his soul seemed to be awakening. Originally, we were supposed to enter your trial ground and create some trouble for you, the seeds of the Silver Moon Empire. I once promised to kill Liu, Yenlu, Su Yen, and Lin Zhuyun. Only with these words did he open his eyes. His eyes were clear and peaceful. Together with his handsome face, he gave people a very quiet, refined, and gentle feeling. However, the words he said were completely different from his temperament. I didn't expect so many upheavals to happen in the forbidden land of the fallen moons either. Not long ago, I encountered a bronze steel and was severely injured by the soul inside. I haven't recovered yet. With a faint smile, he suddenly looked at Liu Chan and said softly, "Now that we've talked about it, do you know who I am?" Liu Chan nodded, his face growing colder and colder. "I didn't expect that the sect masters of the 7 divine sects would come to our trial." "Liu Yenlu," the young man said with a smile. "The 5 new moons of this generation will become big trouble for the Scarlet Sun Empire in the future. The sooner they die, the better it will be for our country. By the way, who are you? You look very unfamiliar. Why does everyone listen to you?" He looked at Yu Yuan. Chapter 134. The scholarly youth was the current sect master of the 7 divine sects, Qin Yun. Qin Yun had used up all of his spirit power and blood qi during the battle with the bronze monument. Since he didn't have any spirit stones to use, he had hidden his soul consciousness in his mind ball. He had wanted to take a look at the situation. According to Yu Yuan, the Red Sun Empire and the Silver Moon Empire might have to work together to overcome this crisis. Yu Yuan said that the Red Sun Empire and the Silver Moon Empire might have to work together. After figuring this out and knowing that the enemy in front of him was no longer an enemy, he woke up from his nap. He was very curious about Yu Yuan. He had seen portraits of Liu Chan, Liu, Su Yen, and Yen Lu before he had entered the forbidden land of the falling moons. In fact, he had come to the forbidden land to kill. For the next 100 years of the Red Sun Empire, he had to nip this batch of new moons in the bud. In the past trials held by the Silver Moon Empire, the participants were far inferior to this batch in terms of talent and potential. They weren't worth the Red Sun Empire's attention. This time was different. This batch of new moons from the Silver Moon Empire had been evaluated by the Red Sun Empire. They would become pillars of the empire in the future and would threaten the Red Sun Empire. They had to be eliminated as soon as possible. That was why Qin Yun had come in person. However, he hadn't expected to find great changes in the Forbidden Land not long after entering. Many foreign souls and evil spirits had been born. Even someone as powerful as him had a hard time dealing with him. Not long ago, he had encountered the bronze monument and won repeatedly, but he had suffered a great loss. He hadn't recovered yet. He dared to awaken his soul because no one present, including Liu Chan, could threaten him. Even though his blood qi and spirit power had been exhausted, his Yin soul was still at the peak of the Yin spirit realm. He would try to break through to the soul-wandering realm soon. He could defeat Liu Chan with just his Yin soul. "His name is Yu Yuan, from the Yu family of Dark Moon City," Zhan Tianxiang said. "I've never heard of them," Qin Yun said honestly. "I've only heard of Dark Moon City and its city lord, Yuan Lianyao. Other than them, I've never heard of anyone else." He didn't care about the Zhao family, the Huang family, or the Yu family. Yu Yuan greets the leader of the 7 divine sect. Yu Yuan bowed slightly and took the initiative to step forward with a smile on his face. Narrowing his eyes, He stared at him with great interest and asked, "What's your cultivation base, senior?" "Peak of the Een spirit realm," Liu Chan answered for him. "Can you tell me about the bronze steel you encountered in detail?" Yu Yuan asked. Qin Yun was somewhat surprised. "Why are you asking this?" "The outsider souls and evil spirits that have escaped from this forbidden area are hiding in the bronze steel. I can't figure out how to deal with them for the time being." Yu Yuan spread out his hands and said helplessly, "Senior, to be able to fight with him and escape alive, it seems like you have some skills. Brat, aren't you a little too bold?" The elder of the 7 divine sects, who had been very uneasy, stood behind Qin Yun and bowed in the form of an old servant. "You should always maintain the proper respect when talking to our sect master." Yu Yuan stepped forward, neither haughty nor humble. He didn't bow, nor did he use honorifics when speaking. This made him rather unhappy. "Senior, do you care about this?" Yu Yuan ignored him and looked at Qin Yun, the sect master of the 7 divine sects. "Compared to solving a problem, which one is more important?" Qin Yun smiled and said, "Brat, you're only at the spirit nurturing realm. Don't you know that I can kill you with a single thought?" As a peak Een spirit, he could penetrate Yu Yuan's sea of consciousness with a wisp of his Een spirit's soul. Under normal circumstances, it would be easier for a cultivator like him to kill a junior at the spirit nurturing realm than it was for him to kill an ant. He also found it strange that Yu Yuan dared to step forward and talk to him. Where did he get his courage and confidence from? "Senior, if we weren't in the forbidden area of Fallen Moon, it would indeed be easy for you to kill me." Yu Yuan grinned and suddenly took another step forward. He was closer to Qin Yun and said, "If we were here, it might be reversed." As he said that, he raised his left arm toward Qin Yun. The numerous sword auras that were branded on his left arm suddenly became scorching hot. The aura of his sword soul quietly spread out. The clouds in the sky churned, and lightning bolts crackled like waterfalls, as if they were about to strike down. Sword intent that could destroy heaven and earth came out of the cracks in the ground and the holes in the ground, as if they were about to tear apart all living beings. Qin Yun and the old man behind him suddenly felt a chill run down their spines. The two of them had almost exhausted all of their flesh power and spiritual power. They only had soul power left. The power that was seeping out of the cracks in the ground and the sky was targeting their souls. They had a feeling that if Yu Yuan wanted to, their souls would be annihilated in an instant. It was hard to imagine how Yu Yuan, who was only at the spirit nurturing realm, had gained the power to threaten them and destroy their souls. "Now, can we have a nice talk?" Yu Yuan put down her arms and smiled at the old man from the 7 divine sects behind Qin Yun. The old man's face was gloomy and he didn't say anything. Qin Yun nodded and said, "Dark Moon City, Yu Yuan of the Yu family. I'll remember that." Whether it was Liu Chan or Liu, when they saw Qin Yun's expression, they knew that Yu Yuan had used the sword soul to gain Qin Yun's approval. Many times, whether one was qualified or not depended on one's own strength. Yu Yuan didn't have the right to talk to someone like Qin Yun outside, but he could hear. "All right, let's talk about the bronze monument you encountered." Yu Yuan didn't force him. He glanced at Liu Chan and said, "Give Senior more spirit stones of a higher grade. We will be allies in the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land. When we reach the Scarlet Sun Empire, we will need Senior to escort us." Liu Chan snorted and reluctantly offered up spirit stones and piled them in front of Qin Yun. Qin Yun's clothes shook, and sparkling rays of light flew out of his sleeves and pierced the spirit stones in front of him. As he absorbed the refined spirit energy in the spirit stones, he said, "There's one thing we didn't hide. The entrance to the Scarlet Sun Empire is blocked by an unknown barrier. Even I can't cross it." "Don't worry, I'll think of a way to resolve it." Yu Yuan smiled and said, "In your opinion, what level is the other soul in the bronze monument? Also, when you encountered the other soul, Did you touch a silver robe and see a cluster of green soul inside? I didn't see the silver robe you mentioned. The other soul in the bronze monument isn't a human soul that we know of. Qin Yun pondered for a moment and said, It's not the Yin soul and Yang soul formed by the three souls of heaven, earth and man. In my perception, it's a soul that's different from ours. He looked at the gray clouds in the sky and said, It should be something from beyond the heavens. Something from beyond the heavens? Liu Chan exclaimed. Yes, it's a so-called otherworldly demon from beyond Howren, said Qin Yun. Chapter 135. Otherworldly heavenly demons naturally appeared outside of the vast world. In Howren, cultivators who reached the Yang spirit realm would choose to use their Yang spirits to travel beyond the heavens and hunt otherworldly demons to strengthen their Yang spirits and increase their cultivation. There were otherworldly demons that broke through the realm barrier and entered Howren. Otherworldly demons that dared to enter Howren were usually extremely powerful. They would attract the pursuit of cultivators from the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent. Many otherworldly demons were surrounded and killed not long after they arrived. Only a very small number of them could roam Howren for a while and escape unscathed. The otherworldly demon hiding in the bronze stele should have been imprisoned by the Fourth High Sect. It had been trapped in the Forbidden Land for tens of millions of years. Qin Yun, who was at the peak of the Yin spirit realm, could only escape with serious injuries after fighting the otherworldly demon. It was obvious how powerful and fierce the otherworldly demon was. That otherworldly demon is still bound by this world and hasn't completely broken free. Qin Yun pondered and said, His strength shouldn't have recovered. Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to escape. Everyone fell silent when they heard this. Liu Chan pondered for a moment and asked, Yu Yuan, is he the one you deliberately avoided? Yes. Yu Yuan didn't deny it. The sword soul I obtained said that I can only restrain that guy if I'm more compatible with this world. Sword soul? More compatible with the world? Qin Yun was stunned for a moment before realization dawned on him. You can trigger the Forbidden Land's restrictions? Yu Yuan nodded. That's right. Then, how much do you know about the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land? Qin Yun looked at the sky and then stared into the distance. Recently, I've been feeling that something is wrong with this Forbidden Land. There are too many ghouls and evil spirits that keep appearing. In the past, I've never encountered such a strange thing in my 3 explorations. He and the cultivators of the Scarlet Sun Empire often traveled to the Fallen Moon Forbidden Land because it was close to it. In the past, only a small number of deviant souls and evil beings would appear in the forbidden area, and their ranks were relatively low. The many moon fragments in the Forbidden Land had long since lost their mysteries. In the past 100 years, no outstanding cultivator had been able to obtain any miracles. This also caused the cultivators of the Qian continent to almost forget about this forbidden area. But now everything has changed. The originally sparse and ordinary forbidden grounds were suddenly filled with danger. Powerful deviant souls and evil beings were frequently born. Even the entrance to the Forbidden Land that connected the Scarlet Sun Empire and the Silver Moon Empire were blocked by a mysterious ward. The clouds were also enveloped by some kind of restrictive spell. The heavens and the earth were all sealed, unable to enter or leave. It was like a huge cage. All I can tell you is that if this world goes out of control, and the souls and evil spirits that have been sealed here break free, Yu Yuan dragged his voice as he calmly looked at Qin Yun, not just the Silver Moon Empire and the Scarlet Sun Empire, the entire Qian continent will be in chaos. Qin Yun was appalled. Like the other realm's Skyfiend inside the bronze monument? There's more than one. Yu Yuan gave him an affirmative answer. That might be the strongest deviant soul and evil spirit in the Forbidden Land that we have encountered so far. There might be even more terrifying ones that have yet to come out and break free. Everyone who heard this fell silent. Even Yen Lu, Han Hui, and company did not know much about the Forbidden Lands situation. Su Yen only felt that there were many inexplicable dangers in the Forbidden Land in front of her. She only saw Li Yuchan and Li Yu whispering to him, and did not realize the seriousness of the matter. It was only now that everyone understood how terrifying this world was. If something went wrong, the world would be turned upside down. You can trigger the restrictions here? Qin Yun absorbed the spirit energy of the spirit stones. His skin flowed with a crystalline luster and his eyes were abnormally bright. He suddenly closed his eyes. When he opened them again, his eyes were like powerful magnets. Yu Yuan, who was looking at him, felt that the three souls of heaven, earth, and man were about to fly out of his mind. Qin Yun. Li Yuchan bellowed coldly as the spiderweb woven by her spiritual sense instantly appeared above her head. Her Yin soul was in the middle of the spiderweb, glaring intently at Qin Yun. Unlike before, her Yin soul was now extremely illusory and blurry. Apart from Li Yu, everyone else could not see it with their eyes. Once she condensed it for a while, the impurities in her Yin soul would be refined, and it would be completely hidden. Qi. Inside Yu Yuan's arm bone, specks of sword beams emitted a resplendent divine radiance. Qin Yun suddenly sensed something as his magnet-like eyes immediately looked at his arm. Qin Yun saw that on Yu Yuan's two arms, there seemed to be suns that suddenly lit up. Soul motion. As he silently recited the incantation, Qin Yun's Yin soul resonated with his main soul. His two hands were like butterflies that flitted through flowers, forming extremely complicated hand seals. Boom! Suddenly, a lightning waterfall fell from the sky. It surged towards Qin Yun with unstoppable violence. Clusters of green clouds flew out from the back of Qin Yun's head to meet the lightning waterfall. The green clouds should be some kind of artifact that he cultivated with his life. Suddenly, a brilliant light burst out, preventing the lightning waterfall from instantly extinguishing him. But at this moment, wisps of sword intent suddenly emerged from the cracks in the ground. Qin Yun's two hands, which were still forming hand seals, instantly became dripping with blood. He grunted as his body suddenly blurred. A few seconds later, he was already far away from his original position. Instead, he stood beside the elder of the seven divine sects. As he grimaced, he applied ointment on his bloody hands. Yu Yuan's face was cold as he said, "Senior, you want to deprive me of my opportunity?" What Qin Yun had done previously was to scrape out the sword beams that were branded on his arm bone and fuse them with his body, replacing Yu Yuan as the sword wielder of this world. Unfortunately, he did not get what he wanted. You're only at the spirit nurturing stage. You won't be able to unleash the wonders of this forbidden land. Why don't I do it? Qin Yun didn't feel the slightest bit embarrassed after his deeds were exposed. You said it yourself. If we can't seal the deviant souls and evil spirits in this heaven and earth, it will cause a great disaster to the Qian continent. Give me your opportunity. With my cultivation base, and my affinity with the restrictive spell, I'll be able to turn the situation around. I'll also be able to destroy the otherworldly demons inside the bronze steel after I obtain the opportunity to trigger the restrictive spell of heaven and earth. He wanted to say that he would refine the otherworldly demons with his peak Yin spirit cultivation base and smoothly enter the Soul Wander stage. After entering the Soul Wander stage, he would continue to hunt down more deviant souls and evil spirits with his sword soul imprint. Then, he would break through his cultivation at a terrifying speed in the forbidden land of the fallen moons. He would even be able to refine his yang spirit in a very short time. By then, he would be one of the most powerful figures in the Qian continent, let alone the Scarlet Sun Empire. It's a pity that you didn't succeed. Yu Yuan frowned. Senior, can you tell me if I should kill you and send you on your way now that I've failed? You can trigger the restrictive spell to restrain the bronze steel, and I'll work with you to kill the otherworldly demons. Qin Yun immediately changed his mind after his plan failed. You can have the bronze steel, and I'll refine the otherworldly demons you killed. What do you think? There's no need. I'll kill you first. Yu Yuan smiled. As for the bronze steel and the otherworldly demons inside, I'll think about it at length. With these words, he attacked. He didn't give Qin Yun a chance to bargain. Chapter 136. Crackle. The dense thunder and lightning were being refined in the depths of the void and gradually became clear and distinct. The newly born lightning was actually a riot of colors. It was as if it was made of gold, silver, blue, yellow, and green metal threads that were meticulously woven by hand. It gave people a magnificent, gorgeous, and wonderful feeling. However, the power contained in the woven lightning bolts was even more impressive and terrifying. Qin Yun looked up and with a glance, he was alarmed. Compared to the waterfall-like lightning bolts before, the ones descending at this moment were much thinner. However, the uneasiness they brought him was far greater than before. Yu Yuan, right? He was shocked, but his expression was still calm. You should calm down. You know very well that you need me, don't you? Yu Yuan's face was expressionless. Crackle! Crackle! The colorful lightning bolts that fell from the sky were still intertwining with each other and releasing incomparably bright divine light. If there were grand cultivators floating in the sky, they would be able to see clusters of ghouls and evil spirits flying out of the area dozens of miles around Yu Yuan and the others. Those ghouls and evil spirits were hiding in the cracks of the ground, inside some kind of tool or rock, and carefully hiding their soul awareness. At this moment, many ghouls and evil spirits instinctively sensed the danger of death. They stopped hiding and scattered. Hundreds of miles away, the enormous bronze steel floated in the center of the crater. The countless inscriptions on the steel suddenly wriggled and shone. They were like stars that lit up the night sky and the bronze steel. The heavenly devils hiding in the steel seemed to have sensed something and were observing the void. The so-called strongest moon devil in the silver robe was also floating in the air, but compared to the bronze steel, it was as small as a fly. Even the so-called strongest moon devil in the silver robe was trembling. That one seems to have been enraged. Its compatibility with the restrictive spell has improved. A ripple appeared in the depths of the strongest moon devil's soul. A cluster of green flame flickered as it tried to get closer to the bronze steel, as if it were trying to please it. Get out of here! Another soul awareness came from the steel. The silver robe instantly flew away. Crackle! A bolt of lightning made of gold, green, and blue threads shot at the clusters of green clouds. The azure cloud that flew out from the back of Qin Yun's head drifted in and out, revealing the true appearance of the azure cloud. The so-called cyan clouds were the arrows wrapped in cyan cloud. The cyan clouds were Qin Yun's artifact, azure sun arrows. There was no bow for the azure sun arrows, only 5 arrows in total. The 5 azure sun arrows had cost Qin Yun 100 years of effort. He had gathered dozens of types of metals and flames and tempered them with his lifeblood and soul. Every azure sun arrow in Qin Yun's hands could kill a Yin god if he released it at full strength. Qin Yun was confident that he could severely injure any late-stage Yin spirit cultivator if he fired the 5 arrows at the same time. For someone like Li Yuchan who had just entered the Yin spirit realm, a single azure sun arrow was enough to take her life. At this moment, one of the 5 blue sun arrows that were covered by the blue clouds was struck by a bolt of lightning that was woven from gold, green, and blue. The azure sun arrow that was tempered with various types of metals was extremely sharp. The lifeblood and soul awareness imprinted within the arrow was instantly destroyed. The azure sun arrow's attack caused Qin Yun to have a splitting headache. His middle dantian's mystic gate and upper dantian's Naiwen, lifeblood, and soul awareness were surging violently. Every azure sun arrow was a cultivation of his life. They were closely related to his lifeblood and soul awareness. The reason why the azure sun arrow could have such terrifying power was because he had been cleansing it with his lifeblood and soul awareness day and night. Every azure sun arrow was his blood, sweat, and tears. They were all tempered by his soul awareness. Once they were struck, he would feel the pain and be injured like the arrow. Yu Yuan. The calmness in Qin Yun's eyes disappeared after the first azure sun arrow was damaged. He saw even more 5-colored lightning coming from the void. He only had 5 azure sun arrows, young Master Yu. Behind him, the elder from the 7 divine sects could no longer hold back as he screamed, "According to what you said, we should be allies." Allies? Yu Yuan sneered. How did your sect master treat his allies just now? Didn't he want to rob me of my opportunities, just because he was at the peak of the Yin Soul realm? The elder opened his mouth to speak. However, he realized that Li Yuchan had silently appeared behind him. A cold and sinister aura had locked onto his back. It was as though Li Yuchan would pierce through his heart and lungs in an instant. His Naiwen would be split open and he would be reduced to ashes. Shut up. Only then did Li Yuchan's cold voice sound. The elder no longer dared to say another word. Yu Yuan, let's talk things over, said Qin Yun again. There's nothing to talk about. Yu Yuan remained unmoved. In this world, you, the sect master of the 7 divine sects, are a joke. Do you really think that you can do whatever you want just because you are at the peak of the Yin Soul realm? It's just the 7 divine sections. It's just a straw team formed by 7 Yin souls. The strongest expert is only you. His tone was filled with mockery. He did not hide his contempt and mockery. In his previous life, when he was the sect master of the Medicine God sect, even a Yin soul like Qin Yun would have to wait patiently to meet him. A sect that did not even have a soul-traversing realm expert was a joke in the Tianyuan continent and Tranquil continent. He had taken the initiative to show his goodwill, but Qin Yun did not know what was good for him. He even tried to kill him and rob him of his opportunities. He was simply courting death. Purring! An azure sun arrow that Qin Yun had painstakingly cultivated for many years suddenly exploded as the 5-colored lightning descended. Countless streams of light, flames, and metallic sparks sputtered out. Like the explosion of the blazing sun, a terrifying energy fluctuation bloomed above Qin Yun's head. It caused the lightning bolts that followed to deviate from their course. Even someone as powerful as Qin Yun, the sect master of the 7 divine sects, spat out a mouthful of blood. He was dispirited. This was because he had exhausted his lifeblood and spirit energy from his battle with the other realm's Skyfiend in the Death Monument. With Yu Yuan's restriction suppressing him, he could not hold on any longer. Don't do this. Qin Yun, who was limp on the ground, had suffered heavy injuries. The remaining 4 azure sun arrows were unable to unleash their full might. The spirit energy he had just refined and the lifeblood he had converted was only enough for him to use 1 azure sun arrow. As for the azure sun arrow, it had just exploded and had even backfired on him. The elder behind him did not dare move under Li Yuchan's covetous gaze. The lightning bolts that had deviated from their course adjusted their course according to Yu Yuan's thought. In addition, sword intent swam through the cracks in the ground as though it was about to burst out. Qin Yun, who had been acting majestically a moment ago, was now filled with regret. He cursed himself for being rash. He should not have killed without understanding the situation. Don't do this. Yu Yuan smiled brightly. Senior, you didn't even greet me when you attacked me previously. You need me. Qin Yun no longer had his calm demeanor. Qin Yun was no longer as calm as before. I represent the Scarlet Sun Empire and the Flaming Sun Emperor. Our 2 empires need to work together. He suddenly turned his head and looked at Li Yuchan, who was behind the elder. Generally, You should understand that the combination of our two empires is beneficial to both of us. Liu Chan said coldly, I can't control him. Die obediently. Yu Yuan did not waste his breath. He used his heavenly soul to communicate with the five-colored lightning. I'm willing to hand the remaining 4 azure sun arrows to you for the time being. I'm willing to swear an oath to send you back to the Silver Moon Empire safely. Qin Yun suddenly shouted. I'll use my blood oath and blood seal to brand the remaining 4 azure sun arrows. A wisp of your soul, Yu Yuan, can trigger the blood oath and destroy the 4 azure sun arrows. The azure sun arrows are my lifeblood. If the 4 azure sun arrows are destroyed one by one, I will be consigned to eternal damnation. As though he was worried that Yu Yuan did not understand, he frequently looked at Liu Chan as he spoke, hoping that Liu Chan would explain so that Yu Yuan would understand how sincere his words were. I understand. Yu Yuan pondered for a moment before saying, swear an oath to imprint your blood seal onto the azure sun arrows. Chapter 137. The 4 azure sun arrows appeared one by one in front of Qin Yun. Qin Yun's face was filled with pain. A wisp of his soul condensed between his eyebrows. It mixed with a pure blood essence in his chest and fused into the azure sun arrows. In the depths of his soul and blood essence was the blood oath he had formed. The blood oath was imprinted into the azure sun arrows. The moment the blood oath was formed, Yu Yuan separated a wisp of his soul from his cauldron. The moment the wisp of soul entered the blood oath imprint, Qin Yun obediently accepted it, not daring to be negligent. The blood oath was finally formed. As soon as they were formed, Yu Yuan sensed with great clarity that there was a profound connection between his heavenly soul and the 4 imprints on it. This connection had a use. As long as he willed it, the blood oath would activate. His wisp of soul could ignite the imprint like a flint, causing the azure sun arrows to explode instantly. The 4 azure sun arrows were refined by Qin Yun day and night over 100 years. It could be said that they were Qin Yun's most precious treasures. If these 4 azure sun arrows were detonated by Yu Yuan one by one, even if Qin Yun did not die, his cultivation realm would drop by 3 levels and his Yin spirit would dissipate. If that happened, Qin Yun would no longer have any status in the 7 divine sects or the Scarlet Sun Empire. How did you understand the blood oath so well? The 4 azure sun arrows were carefully returned to a certain acupuncture point in his chest. He still felt uneasy. Yu Yuan, do you have a master? The moment he said that, Liu Chan's interest was clearly piqued. Previously, when Qin Yun had formed the blood imprint and made the oath, Yu Yuan had appeared too calm. He had controlled many details as though he was familiar with them. It was as though he had experienced something similar in the past. Senior, don't ask so many questions that you shouldn't ask. Yu Yuan's expression became abnormally relaxed. His cauldron could sense the existence of the 4 azure sun arrows at all times. And the 4 azure sun arrows were still in the acupuncture points in Qin Yun's chest. If he wanted to, he could detonate the azure sun arrows now and Qin Yun would be blown up instantly, not even his bones would be left. Yu Yuan, shouldn't you put away your seal? The elder from the 7 deities sect could no longer hold himself back. He said angrily, even if our sect master is in the wrong, he is still a senior. You are just a kid in the spirit nurturing stage. Aren't you being too overbearing? Sect Master Qin, tell him to speak less in the future. Yu Yuan said. Qin Yun helplessly turned around to glare at him and said, Did you hear that? With ahem. In the depths of the ground, the sword intent that looked like fish also hid itself. That other realm skyfiend hiding in the bronze monument. I wish to give it a try now. Yuan stroked her chin and said to Qin Yun, What do you think? I lost a azure sun arrow. My vitality is greatly damaged, Qin Yun said. It is just a azure sun arrow. Don't make a fuss. All of a sudden, Yu Yuan took the initiative and patted Qin Yi on the shoulder. Senior Qin, you've seen for yourself that there are many wondrous things hidden in this world. As for you, as long as you don't have any bad intentions and we work together, you might be able to reach the soul-traversing realm before you go out. Everyone who looked at the two of them felt that it was indescribably strange. Yu Yuan, who was at the spirit nurture realm, patted Qin Yun's shoulder like an old friend and persuaded Qin Yun. The two of them were like heaven and earth in terms of status and cultivation. But Qin Yun had already understood the situation. He was the calmest and his eyes lit up. You are not joking, right? We are all grasshoppers on the same boat. How can I joke? Yu Yuan took a light breath and suddenly said, On account of your 4 azure sun arrows being obediently fused with the blood oath, I'll give you a good fortune. What? Qin Yun was stunned. Follow me. Yu Yuan walked past him and sensed the burning sensation in his arm. All of you can join in as well. His last words were directed at Li Yuchan and company. An hour later, in another pit, Yu Yuan stood on the lunar fragment and said to Qin Yun and Li Yuchan, Chisel open this meteorite. Under the night light, the moon fragment didn't look crystalline at all. Compared to the other lunar fragments, this grayish-white one was nothing special. It did not absorb the moonlight and did not emit any light. Its interior was also opaque. No matter how one looked at it, it was an ordinary lunar meteorite. It did not even have any special markings. I've expended too much of my lifeblood and spiritual energy. I can only use my own soul to fight. Qin Yun looked at the rock and said, As for me, I just tried. My own soul can't penetrate it. Sister Li, do it, said Yu Yuan. Li Yuchan wore a look of curiosity. What's inside this rock? You'll know once you chisel it open, said Yu Yuan with a smile. The Qingxian sword. Li Yuchan snorted coldly as though she was blaming him for being secretive. Then, she extended her hand to Li Yu. Swoosh! Li Yu threw the Silvermoon Empire's supreme treasure, the Qingxian sword, to her. Li Yuchan casually grabbed it and slashed at the moon fragment. A beam of misty cyan light, which looked like a perfectly straight river, slashed down towards the huge, grayish-white rock from top to bottom. Crack! 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 The hard and cold rock was sliced apart by the Qingxian sword as it tumbled down. All of a sudden, dazzling crystals flew out of the huge, pale gray rock. Spirit crystal. No way? Why is there a spirit crystal? It's so sparkling and translucent. It's definitely a spirit crystal. The spirit energy in the fallen moon Forbidden Land is violent and disorderly. It's impossible to form a spirit crystal. The people in the pit suddenly burst into an uproar. They were all dumbfounded as they looked at the crystals that tumbled out of the moon fragment. Spirit stones were of the lowest grade when it came to spiritual energy. In terms of the purity and density of spirit energy, spirit jades were of a higher grade than spirit stones. Spirit jades were mostly formed in the depths of Qianxian continent's mines where the spirit energy was the densest. As for spirit crystals, they were of a higher grade than spirit jade. The spirit energy they contained was richer and purer. Legend had it that spirit crystals could occasionally be found in some mines in the early years of Qianxian continent. In recent years, there had been no news of spirit crystals being found. Only in the Tianyuan continent and some special places on the Tranquil continent would spirit crystals be born. Spirit crystals were rare items that only the true grand cultivators of the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent had the right to possess and enjoy. How did you know there were spirit crystals here? Asked Li Yuchan in shock. Recover your strength as soon as possible, said Yu Yuan. How should we distribute these spirit crystals? Asked Zhang Tianxiang. Give them to the person with the highest cultivation first. Chapter 138. Yu Yuan's compatibility with the restrictive spells in this heaven and earth had greatly improved. Earlier, when the 5-colored thunderbolts descended, it made him realize this. However, as wisps of soul awareness formed a mysterious connection with the blood oath of the 4 blue sun arrows, Yu Yuan's heavenly soul seemed to have undergone subtle changes. Communicating with his sword soul with his mind, he discovered that the sword light on his arm bones seemed to have turned into eyes. They were heaven eyes that could see through the forbidden land. His cultivation base was too low, and he hadn't broken through to the imperceptible realm. Otherwise, he felt that with his soul awareness, the sword light in his arm bones would be able to see even more details of the forbidden land. It was like the cultivators of the Silver Moon Empire had secretly placed many mirage pearls in that forbidden land. Then, using the mirage water curtain and the mirage pearls as eyes, they had observed every movement in that forbidden land. The sword light he had obtained and the sword soul that had merged with his arm bones had a similar effect. It was even more mysterious and miraculous than the mirage pearls and mirage water curtain. At the spirit-nurturing realm, due to the improvement and breakthrough of his heavenly soul, he could vaguely sense the peculiarities of his surroundings with the help of the sword light. Whether it was souls, evil beings, or strong spiritual power fluctuations, he could sense them all. The reason why he had been able to lead Qin Yun, Li Yuchan, and the others to this place, cut the sparse and ordinary meteors, and get the hidden spirit crystals out was with the help of the sword light. Communicating with the sword light with his mind, he keenly sensed that there were unusually refined crystals of spiritual power in this place. Thus, he accurately located the spirit crystals that had been sealed for countless years, whether they existed naturally or were sealed later, and removed them one by one. It's very unlikely that the forbidden land of the fallen moons could produce spirit crystals. Li Yuchan stared at the sparkling and translucent spirit crystals that were as dazzling as diamonds and said, "It must have been a grand cultivator who died here who embedded the spirit crystals into the meteors with a secret method. Moreover, they must have used extraordinary methods to conceal their auras, making it impossible for people to sense them with their soul awareness." Holding a spirit crystal, Qin Yun, whose eyes shone with a different light, nodded gently. That should be the case. Immediately, everyone's gazes focused on Yu Yuan's face again. "I don't want to explain anything." Yu Yuan shrugged as he picked up a spirit crystal and played with it in his palm. "All I need to tell you is that you'll have to follow my orders in the forbidden land of the falling moons. Senior Qin, please return to your peak strength as soon as possible. And you. He pointed at Li Yuchan, Li Yu, and the subtle realm elder from the 7 divinities sect. The battle with the bronze monument will depend on you. You can recover with spirit crystals first. I have a feeling that if we ignore the extraterrestrial demon hiding in the bronze monument, he might be able to break free very soon." At this point, his expression was a little gloomy. Perhaps it was because his heavenly soul had been refined and was more compatible with this world, but he felt uneasy. The source of his uneasiness was the bronze steel that he had intentionally avoided. It seemed that it wouldn't be long before the bronze monument broke free of the restriction and came to find him. "Are you confident that you can defeat the extraterrestrial demon hiding in the bronze monument?" Qin Yun frowned. "Do you know how terrifying he is? Before I meet him, I can't guarantee anything." Yu Yuan didn't dare to speak nonsense. "But I think we have to hurry." After saying this, he nodded at Li Yuchan, indicating that she would be the one to distribute the spiritual crystals. Since he was only in the spirit nurture realm, it would be a waste to cultivate with spirit jades, let alone spirit crystals. He took out a spirit crystal and played with it in his palm, treating it as a spoil of war. Holding a spirit crystal, he went to another place and sat down quietly. He tried to use his heavenly soul to comprehend the white paper fan. He wanted to see if there was a result to the battle between the black-clothed boy and the white-clothed boy in the 4 ancient words on the white paper fan. He felt that if the white-clothed boy and the black-clothed boy could merge and be used by him, he would have a higher chance of winning the battle with the bronze monument. His mind was gradually immersed in the battle. Wisps of thoughts quietly flew through the ancient black words. Extreme wisdom will be injured. Inside the ancient words there was a magical little world of its own. Dense black and white lines of light interweaved together, condensing into a brand new boy that looked slightly strange. Black and white. The new boy seemed to be drawn with black and white lines. His body was black and white. Even his eyes were black and white. However, if one looked carefully and really calculated, they would realize that the white part seemed to be more. Under Yu Yuan's thoughts, the new boy entered the ancient words. Extreme wisdom will be injured. When the word wisdom appeared, it seemed to flash before it focused on the word wisdom. He quietly looked at Yu Yuan, who didn't seem to exist, as though he was just a thought. An obscure soul message that Yu Yuan was able to decipher came from the newborn boy's eyes, one of which was black and one of which was white. Liu Chan instructed Liu to count the number of spirit crystals and give them to Qin Yun to recover. Suddenly, Qin Yun looked elsewhere and said softly, "There's someone." Not long after, Liu Chan also sensed the commotion. She quietly floated in the sky with her Yin soul and looked into the distance. "How did that girl from the Lin family separate from you?" Her main body asked Liu, Zhan Tianxiang, and the others. The Lin family and Fanli felt that returning to the empire was the safest way. Zhan Tianxiang grinned. Yu Yuan said that he had a premonition that that path was a dead end. Yu Yuan insisted on going deep into the hinterland and stepping out of the Forbidden Land through the entrance of the Scarlet Sun Empire. Because of this, everyone parted on bad terms and went their separate ways. Fan Li, Lin Zhuyun, the Lin family, and some other people left alone. After saying this, Zhan Tianxiang asked curiously, "What's wrong? Did they find us?" "Not them. Only Lin Zhuyun." Liu Chan frowned slightly and said, "Lin girl's situation doesn't seem to be very good. What's wrong?" Su Yan interrupted. "You'll know later." 15 minutes later. Lin Zhuyun, the leader of the Lin family in the Forbidden Land and one of the 5 new moons of the Empire, walked over alone. When she saw everyone, her eyes brightened at first but quickly dimmed. Everyone could see that she was very similar to the original Qin Yun and the old man of the 7 divine sect. Her qi, blood, and spirit qi were almost exhausted. Even though she had broken through to the shattering profound realm, she now gave people the feeling that she was extremely weak. It seemed that if she did not receive external help, she would very likely die. A piece of spirit jade flew out of Liu Chan's sleeve and landed at Lin Zhuyun's feet. Like a drowning person suddenly seeing a stream, Lin Zhuyun quickly grabbed it. A wisp of frigid aura instantly spread out from his dried-up acupoints in his dantian. Then, he desperately tried to absorb the pure spiritual power within the spirit jade. After a while, she recovered a little and said sadly, "They're all dead. The Lin family members who left with us, including Fanli, are all dead." Chapter 139. Lin Zhuyun looked as if there was nothing more sorrowful than despair. Her face was pale, and her eyes were cloudy. Even her clothes were covered in blood and dust. Perhaps she had never been in such a sorry state in her life. "Did you run into the Moon Devil?" Yanlu asked in a deep voice. Lin Zhuyun shook her head repeatedly. "No, it wasn't the Moon Devil. It was a spirit that was even more powerful than the Moon Devil. You can't even begin to imagine how terrifying the entrance to the Forbidden Land has become." She slowly closed her eyes, as if she was still trapped in a terrifying dream. She murmured in a dreamy voice, "Many deviant souls, devils, and demons that I've never heard of or seen before are blocking the arched door. They are screaming and madly trying to rush into the Forbidden Land. The moment Fanli, the Lin clan members, and those who left with us stepped out of the Forbidden Land. She didn't continue. However, everyone who saw her knew how bloody and cruel that scene was from the expression on her face. If you knew, why did you rush out? Liu asked. Those outsider souls and outsiders only showed up the moment Fanli and the others rushed out of the Forbidden Land. Lin Zhuyun opened her eyes. Her pupils had become blank and hollow. At first, we couldn't see anything. All we could see was a vast expanse of whiteness. Only when they passed through some invisible ward did those outsider souls and outsiders suddenly show up. She lowered her head slightly. I remembered Yu Yuan's words, so I waited until the end to see what would happen. I was the only one who didn't leave the Forbidden Land in a hurry. That's why I saw them being torn to pieces and devoured by those outsiders the moment they stepped out of the Forbidden Land. Their souls exploded. None of them survived except for me. They all died in a breath's time. After they died, the Forbidden Land was covered in a vast expanse of whiteness again. I couldn't see anything. However, that brief glimpse of her made me realize one thing: Yu Yuan's premonition was right. She didn't say another word. Hearing her words, no one present gloated over her misfortune. Instead, they all fell silent. What she had said was simply too shocking. Numerous outsider souls, outsiders, and powerful demons had gathered at the entrance of the Forbidden Land, desperately trying to get in. What did that mean? Had they lost control of the Silver Moon Empire? What about the army of the Empire, the families of the Empire, and the powerful cultivators? As trial takers, they were clearly trapped in the forbidden area, and the only entrance was occupied by evil spirits and greater demons. Didn't this mean that they had already been abandoned? Among them, there were geniuses like Li Yu, Yen Lu, Su Yan, and Zhang Tianxiang. Under what circumstances would they be abandoned? Unless the Empire was in an extremely bad situation and was in imminent danger. Yu Yuan is right. After a long while, Liu Chan took a deep breath. The upheaval in the Forbidden Lands has caused a terrifying upheaval in the Silver Moon Empire. Strange souls and great demons had appeared out of nowhere, and perhaps even the Empire was powerless to deal with them. The loss of the entrance to the Forbidden Area proves that the Empire has no way to deal with them. These words were too heavy for her to say. Where's Yu Yuan? Lin Zhuyun absorbed the spirit energy of a spirit jade. Her dried-up dantian was slowly filled with energy. She surveyed her surroundings, and when she realized that Yu Yuan was not around, she had mixed feelings. Yu Yuan was not around. Could it be? Qin Yun and the elder from the Seven Deities sect were strangers, but she recognized the emblem of the Seven Deities sect on his clothes. Could Yu Yuan have been killed by the Seven Deities sect? For no reason, she thought that Yu Yuan might have died. She did not feel the slightest bit of joy. Instead, she felt a little disappointed. Brother Yu is fine. He's fine. Su Yan smiled sweetly. You don't have to worry too much. Our journey has been quite smooth. These two? Lin Zhuyun was surprised as she looked at Qin Yun and the elder from the Seven Deities sect. Qin Yun and the elder from the Seven Deities sect were still recovering with spirit crystals. They were expressionless when they met her gaze. Fellow Taoists from the Red Sun Empire and the Seven Deities sect are now our allies. Zhang Tianxiang interjected and then said with a smile, Seniors, listen to Yu Yuan for the time being. We're preparing to deal with an extraterrestrial demon hiding in the Bronze Monument when our strength recovers. Allies? Listen to Yu Yuan's orders? Lin Zhuyun was stunned again. Bronze Monument? All of a sudden, she shrieked. That's a floating bronze stele with countless inscriptions on its surface, isn't it? Are the strange souls inside hiding and not willing to show themselves? Qin Yun suddenly looked over. You've seen it too? Lin Zhuyun, who was stared at by him, felt her hair stand on end. She felt uncomfortable all over. Senior, you are? Qin Yun, the current sect master of the Seven Deities sect. After the scholarly young man reported his name, he shouted with a cold face, "Where did you see it?" After learning who he was, Lin Zhuyun's expression flickered with astonishment, and she hastily explained what she had seen. "There's a bronze stele floating at the entrance of the Forbidden Land. It's about this size." The deviant soul inside of it captured Fan Li's soul and pulled it into the stele. The entrance of the forbidden area? Such a small bronze monument? Qin Yun was stunned. It's not the same bronze monument. It's the same one. The one at the entrance of the forbidden area should only be a small part of it. Yu Yuan's voice suddenly rang out. He walked over to the group and said, "I have a rough idea of the situation." Yu Yuan Lin Zhuyun's expression was very unnatural when she saw him. "We should have trusted you. We shouldn't have separated from you and tried to return to the Empire through that entrance." Along the way, she had encountered many strange souls and evil spirits, but she had barely made it through. She had also entered the profound shattering realm after a narrow escape. Finally, she had found her way here and joined the group. After going through so many hardships, she finally realized how wise and decisive Yu Yuan was every time she made a decision. She asked herself, if she was the leader and the one giving orders, perhaps the Lin family would have been wiped out long ago. The result proved that after she bid farewell to Yu Yuan, all her clansmen had died. As for Yu Yuan's side, although there were casualties, the key people were all present. Liu Chan was also present. The sect masters of the seven divine sects seemed to think highly of Yu Yuan. "Let's cut the crap." Yu Yuan only glanced at her before turning his head and saying to Qin Yun and Liu Chan, "For thousands of years, many cultivators have taken away some of the items buried in this forbidden area. There are many incomplete parts of strange souls and evil spirits in those items. They have many weaknesses and are easier to deal with when they are incomplete. Once they are gathered and their souls are restored, it will be difficult to deal with them. Therefore, we must first go to the forbidden area and destroy the bronze monument that is still suppressed. We can't waste any more time." Chapter 140. After the white-clothed and black-clothed boys merged into one, they revealed a lot of information to Yu Yuan. There was one thing that Yu Yuan had guessed wrong. The black and white souls weren't what he thought. They were cultivators of the fourth high sect that had disappeared. They were just the soul of the soul-splitting staff in Yen Lu's hand. The artifact soul of the soul-splitting staff was a powerful soul that had been fused into the staff by a heaven-span cultivator. It could separate souls, and could suppress Yin spirits, Yang spirits, and even Freedom Realm experts. The master of the soul-splitting staff was the cultivator of the fourth high sect. After he died, the soul of the soul-splitting staff escaped from the staff without its master's suppression. Could do whatever it wanted in this restricted world. Yu Yuan's sword soul didn't have any hostility towards the white-clothed and black-clothed boys because the soul-splitting staff belonged here. After losing its soul, the soul-splitting staff under Yen Lu's control couldn't evolve again. The black and white spirit pearl souls merged into one, informing Yu Yuan that there were a large number of evil beings in this forbidden area, such as the bronze steel and the heavenly devils. The otherworldly demon that had attached itself to the bronze steel could only be ranked in the top 6 in this world. Its peak battle strength was only 6. There were 5 other evil beings before the otherworldly demon that were even stronger. The stronger the evil being, the more restricted it would be. So it hadn't shown itself yet and couldn't break free. However, if the extraterrestrial devil escaped from the hole, he might be able to find the other 5 and help them wake up from their endless slumber. If the other 5 woke up and broke free from the shackles of this world, the Qianxian continent would fall into turmoil for a long time. Even the Tianyuan continent and the Tranquil continent would have trouble dealing with those 5. Therefore, to avoid any accidents and prevent the otherworldly demon that had attached itself to the bronze steel from escaping the pit, they had to get rid of it as soon as possible. Yu Yuan followed the Sword Soul's guidance, and went to the bottom of the pit where the bronze steel was. Qin Yun, Liu Chan, the elder from the 7 divine sects, and many other cultivators followed silently, feeling uneasy. Along the way, Qin Yun constantly told Yu Yuan and Liu Chan about the horror of the other soul. He told everyone that the otherworldly fiends he came into contact with were different from the yin and yang gods of humans. He urged everyone to be careful. Along the way, everyone either used spirit crystals or spirit stones to cultivate and accumulate power. The only survivor of the Lin family, Yu Yuan's fiancée in name, found out an unbelievable truth through everyone's words. Whether it was the bloody butcher of the empire, Liu Chan, or the current leader of the 7 divine sects, Qin Yun, they all obeyed Yu Yuan. Her fiancé, who had been abandoned by his clan and whom she had hated for many years, had started to shine after entering the forbidden land of the falling moons. Even Li Yu, Yen Lu, Su Yen, and herself, who were the new moons of the empire, had been overshadowed by him. The more extraordinary Yu Yuan became, the more ridiculous she and the Lin family became. Gradually, a strong sense of inferiority rose in her heart. Later on, she deliberately avoided contact with Yu Yuan. She didn't even dare to look him in the eyes when Yu Yuan spoke. Everyone else noticed the change in her. For some reason, many of them felt that it was only natural. This was especially true for Liu Chan and Qin Yun from the 7 divine sects. Cultivators like them, who had reached the Yin God stage, were already the pillars of the empire. They didn't even think much of the Lin family behind Lin Zhuyun. The Lin family, or even the frigid Yin sect behind Lin Zhuyun, didn't deserve much respect from them. From their point of view, Lin Zhuyun, who had led the Lin family into the Forbidden Land, but had made a series of mistakes that led to the death of all her clansmen, didn't deserve Yu Yuan at all. The fact that Yu Yuan, who was at the spirit-nurturing stage, had achieved what he had today in the Forbidden Land of the Falling Moons was not as simple as luck. Whoosh! A silver-white robe whizzed over from far away, where the spiritual chi of heaven and earth was chaotic. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled in that part of the world, accompanied by the shrill howls of thousands of ghouls and wraiths. The expressions of everyone who was heading in that direction changed dramatically. They all saw that in the depths of the thick sea of clouds, bolts of lightning fell like waterfalls, suppressing something. Then, clusters of ghouls and wraiths in the surroundings rushed madly in that direction. Strange chanting, like the cries of ghouls from purgatory, came intermittently. The silver-white robe rushed directly towards Yu Yuan, as if it were fleeing with all its might. Inside the robe, the green soul of the strongest moon devil gave off an extremely miserable feeling, as if it could be extinguished at any moment. "It's you!" Liu Chan, who had reached the Yin God stage, smelled a familiar aura the moment he saw the robe. He knew that the person inside the robe was Feng Xian, who had forced him to this place. It was the strongest moon devil. Moon devil! Qin Yun only frowned slightly. He was at the peak of the Yin spirit realm and had 4 blue sun arrows. It would be very easy for him to kill the moon devil, who didn't have a physical body and was only left with a wisp of soul. Yu Yuan, is she the one you said was captured by the foreign soul in the bronze monument? Yen Lu, Zhan Tianxiang, and the others looked at the soul that had made their scalps numb in the previous forbidden area with mixed feelings. When the strongest moon devil was in Feng Xian's body, it had killed many people, making them feel suffocated. In the blink of an eye, the so-called strongest moon devil had become the possession of the ghoul in the bronze monument. At this moment, the strongest moon devil, who had been severely injured time and time again, seemed to have escaped from the bronze monument alone. "It's her," said Yu Yuan. "She can't escape," said Qin Yun with an indifferent expression. Qin Yun's expression was indifferent. He looked gentle and elegant, but he had already summoned a blue sun arrow and aimed it at the silver-white robe from afar. There's no way she could have escaped from the hands of the heavenly devil in the bronze monument and come to us. Yu Yuan instantly came to a realization and said, "You were released by him?" Inside the silver-white robe, the soul of the omnipotent moon devil flickered as he sent a message to Yu Yuan alone. "Yes, the otherworldly heavenly devil in the bronze steel sensed your arrival and released me." "Why?" Yu Yuan narrowed his eyes. "To kill you." The strongest moon devil sent the last wisp of his soul. A sad and desolate aura came from the silver-white robe floating in front of him. Suddenly, pieces of bones flew over from the ground not far away and magically formed a temporary skeleton in the silver-white robe. The skeleton was made of gray, white, and greenish-brown bones. Those bones clearly belonged to different creatures. In the next moment, the skeleton began to grow blackish-brown flesh and green tendons that looked like those of demon beasts. Another wisp of awareness forcibly erased the strongest moon devil's consciousness and replaced it. Moon devils were otherworldly heavenly devils. In the starry sky outside the Hauran heaven and earth, the strong would possess the weak and devour their souls. This was the most basic law among the otherworldly heavenly devils. In an instant, the strongest moon devil that had chased after Yu Yuan and the others became food for another wisp of awareness. Its soul disappeared and was replaced by a new wisp of awareness. Wrapped in the silver-white robe, it fell to the ground like a human. Chapter 141. Boom! A tall, dark-skinned humanoid in a silver-white robe suddenly landed on the ground. His eyes burned with a green ghost fire. The silver-white robe seemed a little tight on his body. "Heh!" He grinned without a single tooth in his mouth. His body exuded a decaying but extremely ancient aura. "You are the junior recognized by the Sword Soul?" Qin Yun and Liu Chan looked like they were facing a great enemy. Yu Yuan frowned and secretly communicated with the Sword Soul. He sent a wisp of thought into the white paper fan in an attempt to contact the black and white boy. "You are." Qin Yun of the Seven Divinities sect had 4 azure sun arrows in his sleeve. He was already prepared to fight at any time. "You are not the other soul hiding in the bronze monument at the pit?" Liu Chan was secretly surprised as he carefully sized up the humanoid before him. He suddenly said, "For some reason, you have an aura that I'm familiar with." That tall and big man, who had grown flesh from dried bones and created the most powerful moon devil, chuckled again. He suddenly raised a hand. The flesh on his palm wriggled and suddenly produced a super strong suction force. Qin Yun, Liu Chan, and the subtle realm elder felt their souls tremble and their heads ache. Qin Yun and Liu Chan's souls immediately left their heads and were about to be pulled into his palm. Whoosh! A azure sun arrow flew out of Qin Yun's sleeve. The small azure sun arrow stirred up torrential flames like a blazing sun pillar. Interesting. The strange person in the silver-white robe used his empty hand to strike the azure sun arrow. Countless pitch-black lightning bolts mixed with soul strands actually managed to instantly destroy the raging flames set off by the blue sun arrow. The strange person used his finger to strike the azure sun arrow. Clang! The azure sun arrow seemed to be struck by a hammer as sparks flew everywhere. Qin Yun paled and was about to attack again when the strange person laughed. "Enough!" Liu Chan, whose soul had left his body, instantly separated the web he had woven with his spiritual sense like a butcher dissecting an ox, causing the web to cease to exist. Just as Liu Chan's divinity was about to uncontrollably fall into his palm, he suddenly clenched his fist. The suction force from the palm that was trying to pull everyone's souls disappeared completely in an instant. Qin Yun and Liu Chan's souls immediately returned to their original positions. The elder from the 7 divine sects groaned and fell to the ground. The three strongest people present all looked at the strange person in front of them in shock, not knowing what to do. If that person hadn't clenched his fist and continued to execute the evil art, their own spirits and souls would have been sucked into it. Why did he give up in the end? The strange man's dark green eyes stared at Liu Chan. Liu Chan felt his hair stand on end as he felt increasingly uneasy. He asked coldly, "What are you looking at?" "I didn't expect it. I really didn't expect it to be lost." The strange man seemed to be reminiscing about the past as he muttered, "I could even get the moon demon from Green Nightmare, much less your own deity." He suddenly looked at Yu Yuan. "Kid, since you have gained the recognition of the Sword Soul, do you know who I am?" "Green Nightmare." Qin Yun's expression changed. "The alien soul of the Bronze Monument is the legendary Green Nightmare?" Liu Chan was also shocked. The others were also shocked when they heard the name Green Nightmare. In the ancient legends of the Qian continent, there had always been an evil spirit named Green Nightmare. It was said that before the various empires were established and before the human race was able to become the leader of the various races, this evil spirit named Green Nightmare already existed. The bronze monument was originally built to imprison Green Nightmare, but it was refined by Green Nightmare in the end, and became a part of him. The strange man chuckled. "Green Nightmare is the one most likely to break free of the restraints of the Forbidden Land in a short time. I have coveted this alien soul from beyond the heavens for many years. I must obtain it." Qin Yun was clearly displeased when he heard this. "That Green Nightmare is our target. You? Do you think you can kill Green Nightmare?" The strange man laughed out loud. "Just you and you, two Een souls, dare go against Green Nightmare? You are from the Scarlet Sun Empire's 7 divine sections. Do you think it's that easy to escape with serious injuries? How did you know?" Qin Yun was alarmed. "You were able to escape alive despite being heavily injured partly because of me." Every word the strange man said was a blow to Qin Yun. "Green Nightmare smelled me and awoke from its long slumber. It was secretly wary of me that it did not take your life." "Then, who are you?" Liu Chan asked extremely seriously. "Why ask when you already know the answer?" The strange man grinned. "You." Liu Chan's body trembled as a name surfaced in her mind. However, she did not dare say it out loud. This was because that name was taboo. It was something she could not say. "I'm Yu Yuan from the Silvermoon Empire's Dark Moon City. I was lucky to obtain the recognition of the Sword Soul." Yu Yuan suddenly bowed slightly as his face was filled with reverence. "It's my honor to meet the great emperor in this world." "Great emperor?" Zhan Tianxiang was stunned. "Which great emperor?" Qin Yun was puzzled as well. "Which great emperor are you?" "The founder of the Heavenshaker Empire, Great Emperor Heavenshaker," said Yu Yuan. "Great Emperor Heavenshaker? The creator of the heroic soul art, the most terrifying bloody butcher in the Qian continent. He was once at the peak of the Yang God realm and had a chance of reaching the Freedom realm." "Wasn't Great Emperor Heavenshaker killed by an expert from the Sword sect at the cost of his injuries?" "Heavens, that can't be right!" The group of juniors were alarmed when they heard that the strange man in front of them was the legendary Great Emperor Heavenshaker. There were too many legends about Great Emperor Heavenshaker in the Qian continent. This innumerable and bloody Great Emperor was definitely a legend among legends. An emperor of the Qian continent who created the heroic soul art and slaughtered billions of lives, nearly achieving freedom. Such a figure was discussed with reverence by many great cultivators of the Tianyuan continent and Tranquil continent. Who would have thought that such an earth-shaking figure would be born in the depths of the Forbidden Land by devouring the soul of the strongest moon devil? Azure Nightmare and I have been competing in secret for many years. I wanted to use the heroic soul art to devour him, but he also wanted my soul." The strange man chuckled. He has been trapped in the Forbidden Land for a longer period of time, and is restricted more. As for me, because I am a human, the Forbidden Land has fewer restrictions on me. I can lend you a hand and kill that green nightmare, he said. Azure Nightmare's bronze tablet is useless to me, so I'm willing to give it up. However, Azure Nightmare's soul must belong to me. In addition, I can also kill the powerful shades and evil spirits that awaken later, but their souls must belong to me. I won't take anything that has a physical form. What do you think? He looked at Yu Yuan. Chapter 142. 2 balls of green fire burned in the eccentric's eyes. He only looked at Yu Yuan. He didn't ask for the opinions of Qin Yun and Li Yuchan because he felt that they couldn't change the overall situation. Only Yu Yuan, who had obtained the Sword Soul's approval and could trigger the restrictions of the world, could give Green Nightmare great pressure. In the eccentric's mind, he and Yu Yuan had to work together to kill Green Nightmare, who was hiding in the bronze steel. Qin Yun of the Seven Divine Sect and the female general of the Silver Moon Empire could only act as assistants. No one was angered by his disregard for the others after they learned of his identity. Because he was Emperor Han Tian. As the legend of the Qian Xian continent, the ruler who had almost unified the continent, he had the right. Such a person almost reached the Freedom Realm in Qian Xian continent without relying on any sect, forcing the experts of the Sword Sect to come personally. Wasn't it natural for such a person to look down on them? Moreover, he hadn't died under the attacks of the Sword Sect's experts. Emperor, Yu Yuan chose his words carefully and laughed awkwardly. You are also one of the so-called other soul evil spirits of the Forbidden Grounds. Also, when your soul was complete, you were extremely ruthless and murderous. I don't even know what your current situation is. I'm afraid that if I work with you, you'll destroy me to the point that not even my bones remain after you successfully refine Green Nightmare. He had secretly communicated with the Sword Soul and asked for help from the Black and White Boy. Only then did he learn of the eccentric's identity. The legend wasn't completely true. Emperor Han Tian had almost reached the Freedom Realm when he was at his peak. The Sword Sect expert from the Tianyuan continent had severely injured him in the process. Emperor Han Tian's Yin spirit and Yang spirit had both reached great success, and his Yang spirit had been destroyed along with his body. A formless Yin soul escaped from right under the nose of the expert from the Sword Sect. Strictly speaking, he was actually tied with that expert from the Sword Sect. Because he hadn't died and his Yin spirit had successfully left, the Sword Sect expert had been severely injured. After returning to the Sword Sect, he had fallen silent and didn't know what had happened. Eventually, his nether divinity sneaked all the way to the Forbidden Land of the Falling Moons. His Yin divinity had originally intended to devour the numerous deviant souls and evil spirits in the Forbidden Land with the heroic soul art, then condense his Yang divinity and nurture his life spirit, hoping to come back to life. He moved around for a while and recovered a portion of his strength. However, he still triggered a restriction and was suppressed and sealed by this world. Before he was sealed, he had set his eyes on Blue Nightmare. He believed that if he could devour and refine Blue Nightmare, this Yin spirit could use the soul seal to refine its destroyed Yang spirit. Blue Nightmare, who was restricted by many things, also wanted to pull Qin Lai into the bronze monument and make himself stronger. The two powerful spirit souls had been secretly competing with each other for many years, but neither of them could do anything to the other. The appearance of Yu Yuan and the recognition of the Sword Soul was an opportunity for him. He was a human, and Green Nightmare was an otherworldly demon. As a swordsman, if Yu Yuan had to provoke an ally, it should be someone of the same race, not an otherworldly demon. You can either trust me or Blue Nightmare. You can only choose one. Emperor Heaven Shaking was very straightforward. Blue Nightmare is hostile to you, and he's an otherworldly demon. I don't think you'll choose to kill me with him. I'm a human. Even if I break free from the restrictions of this forbidden land, I'll only seek trouble with the Sword Sect after I condense my young divinity. I won't vent my anger on anyone else. Yu Yuan remained silent. Well, I'll give you some time to think about it. Wrapped in a silver robe, he chuckled. The deviant souls and evil spirits in the outside world are also eyeing us covetously and trying to work with us from the inside. You, on the other hand, are the swordsman of this forbidden land. Since you've been acknowledged by the Sword Soul, you should shoulder the responsibility of maintaining the stability of this place. Whoosh! He suddenly rose into the air and floated towards the heaven and earth that was filled with lightning and thunder at a moderate speed. Countless bones of various colors flew towards him from the nearby nooks, crevices, and jagged rocks that were filled with strange shapes and rocks. The silver-white robe slowly expanded as the bones entered his body. He grew taller at a rate visible to the naked eye. Every time he grew taller, the pressure he gave off would multiply by several times. I'll wait for you at Blue Nightmare's hole. If you've thought it through, I'll go down with you. His raspy voice came from within the silver robe. Everyone looked at each other with strange expressions. Yu Yuan, is he really Emperor Heaven Shaking? Zhang Tianxiang's eyes were filled with worship. This person almost unified the entire Qianxian continent. If it weren't for the suppression of the sword sect of the Tianyuan continent, he probably would have reached the Freedom Realm here. Such a legend hasn't died yet, and he's trying to make a comeback in this forbidden land. There's no mistaking it. It's him, Li Yuchan said. She had guessed it not long after Emperor Heaven Shaking had appeared, but she didn't dare to admit it. The heroic soul art that she cultivated came from the great emperor, and that familiar aura could not be concealed no matter how hard she tried. Yu Yuan, you promised me. Qin Yun of the Seven Divinities sect could not wait any longer after martial monarch Heaven Shaking left. He said, the soul of the Blue Nightmare is also beneficial to my cultivation. If I refine Blue Nightmare's soul, I might reach the soul-traversing realm. I'm really sorry. Yuan bowed apologetically to Qin Yun and said, I have to tell Senior that Heaven Shaking Monarch's battle prowess far surpasses yours. I don't have any confidence in killing Blue Nightmare. If you're determined to do it, Blue Nightmare's soul will belong to whoever puts in the most effort. Sect Master Qin, if Emperor Heaven Shaking isn't lying, you should thank him for being able to escape with serious injuries, Li Yuchan said indifferently. Seeing Yu Yuan and Li Yuchan suddenly stand on Emperor Heaven Shaking's side, Qin Yun fell silent. After a long time, he nodded. I agree. We'll decide the ownership of Blue Nightmare's soul based on the final result. That's good. Since Yu Yuan had made his decision, he didn't say anything else and headed towards the area of thunder. The others immediately followed. Qin Yun of the Seven Divinities sect and the Subtle Realm Elder stayed behind. They didn't immediately follow. When Yu Yuan and the others were far away, the Elder said, Sect Master, that kid destroyed one of the Blue Sun arrows. The other 4 Blue Sun arrows were sealed with blood oaths. Now, even the fruits of the harvest have nothing to do with you, Sect Master. The Elder lowered his head and didn't look at Qin Yun. He didn't continue speaking. Let's survive first. Qin Yun's tone was calm. Those who survive to the end often have the last laugh. Besides, Yu Yuan will leave the Forbidden Zone sooner or later and come to our Scarlet Sun Empire. As long as he comes to our territory one day, we'll lose the threat of the Forbidden Zone and many things will be convenient. The Elder of the Seven Divinities sect pondered for a moment and said, Sect Master, you're thinking too far ahead. Heaven Shaking. Earth-shaking rumbles came from within the bronze steel. While I was attacking the seal, you stole a puny moon demon and refined it into a crude shell. Are you trying to make me laugh? The real you doesn't even dare to come out and see me? The inscriptions on the steel twinkled like stars. Around the steel, tens of thousands of evil spirits howled like locusts. However, compared to the incomparably huge bronze steel, all of the evil spirits and spirits were insignificant. Blue Nightmare, oh Blue Nightmare, your good days in Howren will come to an end today. Emperor Heaven Shaking cackled. P.S. About that, it's up. Brothers and sisters with the ability, please subscribe and support. Thanks. Chapter 143. Zlotsla. A thick bolt of lightning mixed with countless mysterious lightning patterns fell from the rolling clouds. It was as if the sky had been torn apart by the lightning bolt. The terrifying lightning bolt silenced Emperor Heaven Shaker, who was standing beside the crater. Endless hatred and violence could be seen in the depths of martial monarch Heaven Shaking's dark green eyes. The bones that had merged with his broken body gave rise to crisp, crackling sounds. Black light burst forth from within the robe as Grand Monarch Heaven Shaking's patchwork flesh and blood. The silver robe that had been refined for the Moon Devils seemed to be dyed with ink, and turned into an unusually loose black robe within a very short time. All of the patterns on the robe that were related to the moon were covered by the ink. The Moon Devil's spiritual formations and moon patterns had been tampered with. Emperor Heaven Shaker's hatred and ruthlessness that soared into the heavens were covered up as well. The first target of the thick bolt of lightning was Emperor Heaven Shaker. As Emperor Heaven Shaker's aura faded, the thick bolt of lightning zigzagged in the air and flew straight towards the crater in front of him. The moment the lightning bolt passed through the crater, the countless patterns and mysterious patterns carved into the walls of the crater instantly lit up. The numerous mysterious patterns and formations in the crater that imprisoned Cyan Nightmare were instantly activated. Fizz! The bolt of lightning struck the bronze steel. Thousands of swarming ghouls and evil spirits were mixed together by Cyan Nightmare and merged into the mysterious inscriptions on the steel. The ghouls and evil spirits were instantly reduced to ashes, and the ancient inscriptions on the steel faded from their original clarity. Go! Cyan Nightmare's demonic voice echoed out in a mysterious tone, urging the ghouls and evil spirits to crash into the ancient patterns carved into the walls of the crater like moths flying into a flame. Thousands of ghouls and evil spirits were reduced to ashes and dissipated. The mysterious inscriptions and patterns on the walls of the crater that had just lit up suddenly dimmed. There were no more lightning bolts that condensed in the clouds and struck down. The ancient and heavy bronze steel that was engraved with countless inscriptions and floating at the center of the crater sank slightly. Do you think this is interesting, Heaven Shaker? Cyan Nightmare's demonic voice echoed from the bronze steel. It was a blurry face, but it gave off an incomparably ferocious feeling. It was formed by many small tablet inscriptions. Emperor Heaven Shaker's voice was filled with hatred and ruthlessness as he forcibly triggered the restrictive spell, causing a bolt of lightning to descend. At this critical moment, Emperor Heaven Shaker used countless divine abilities to conceal all evil auras. Having lost its primary target, the lightning bolt had no choice but to strike, so it turned to Cyan Nightmare, who wasn't attacking the restrictive spell, as its secondary target. Since I have nothing to do, Emperor Heaven Shaker said. Emperor Heaven Shaker. In the Starry River. Cyan Nightmare. You? Of Cyan Nightmare. Of. And. Looking at the hole, he looked very funny. But Cyan Nightmare couldn't laugh at his mockery. You're an ancient existence among the otherworldly demons. You've been bound by this forbidden land for tens of millions of years. Do you feel bad? Emperor Heaven Shaker sneered. You might not know, but the otherworldly demons in the outer realms saw you as a clown when you were imprisoned. They used you as a bad example. In the Qian Xian continent, his heavenly soul had turned into a yang soul. His yang soul had also broken free of the Howren barrier and soared into outer space. Others didn't know the secrets of the otherworldly demons, but he, who had refined his young soul in the depths of the dark, cold galaxy, naturally knew the secrets of the otherworldly demons. After his young soul had been destroyed by the enemy of the Sword Sect, his own soul had escaped into the Forbidden Land for Cyan Nightmare. He knew a lot about Cyan Nightmare's background, experiences, and the mysteries of the otherworldly demons. Which of my kind in the outer realms can be like me, who was hunted down by so many great cultivators in the Howren? Cyan Nightmare wasn't angered inside the bronze monument. He said proudly, "Heaven Shaker, don't even think about using them to mess with my mind. I'm the only otherworldly demon who dares to enter the Howren and make the 3 continents change color. I'm the only one who hasn't been killed yet. I'm the pride of the otherworldly demons. They should be proud of me. The only reason you haven't been killed yet is because you're still useful." Emperor Hantian laughed maniacally. "For example, I can raise you and use you to refine my young spirit after a human expert like me is seriously injured and survives." Seeing that he couldn't affect Cyan Nightmare's mind with the otherworldly demons, he immediately changed the topic. Cyan Nightmare was right. The so-called otherworldly demons in the outer realms of Howren viewed Cyan Nightmare as a martyr and pride. For tens of millions of years, only young soul, freedom, and nascent soul cultivators of the human race had traveled to outer realms to refine otherworldly demons to strengthen their cultivation and merge them into their artifacts. Only a few otherworldly demons dared to enter the Howren. Cyan Nightmare was the only one who had survived after entering the Howren and causing the 3 continents to hunt him down. Some of the otherworldly demons were even stronger and older than Cyan Nightmare, but they were still completely dead. Therefore, in the eyes of the otherworldly demons, Cyan Nightmare wasn't a disgrace. He was a hero even now. The 4th high sect that suppresses this world has been destroyed for so many years. That successor is also dead. I'm afraid even his divine sword is broken. Ching Chong wasn't afraid. Look, without the protector, the barriers of this world are loosened. People like me and you can even sit down and talk to each other. Who says there's no guardian? Emperor Heaven Shaker laughed. Don't you know that a new guardian has appeared? You mean that junior at the Spirit Nurture realm who's only been acknowledged by the Sword Soul? Inside the bronze steel, Green Nightmare chuckled in agreement. Oh Hantian, do you really think that someone as lowly as an ant like him can suppress this world and become an existence like you and me? He can't, but what if I join in? Emperor Heaven Shaker asked with a smile. Cyan Nightmare suddenly fell silent within the monument. It wasn't long before Yu Yuan walked over to Emperor Heaven Shaking's side in a carefree manner. Imitating Emperor Hantian, he poked his body out of the hole and looked at the floating and slowly rotating bronze monument. He clicked his tongue in wonder and said, "This hole is so big, but the bronze monument is as big as a palace. How spectacular! Kid, where did you get the guts to come so close to me?" Martial Monarch Heaven Shaking stared at Qin Lai with his green eyes. "Do you know that you'll fall into the pit if I give you a casual push? Once you're in Cyan Nightmare's territory, you'll be killed no matter how compatible you are with this world. You're only at the Spirit Nurture realm. Do you think you're a young spirit or a Freedom Grand cultivator? Then why don't you push me down?" Yu Yuan said with a smile. Emperor Heaven Shaker shook his head, his neck cracking as if a few of his bones had broken. "I don't understand you. However, since you've been acknowledged by the Sword Soul, you must have something special about you. Since you dared to come here, you must have a plan. In that case, I'll fight first. You just have to watch." As he spoke, he suddenly jumped forward and floated into the hole. All of a sudden, the earth within a radius of dozens of miles shook. Thousands of dazzling light pillars converged from all directions. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.